Greetings, sentient beings. This stream is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes.
And sausages.
Nothing on this channel should ever be taken as medical or legal advice. So, just before we went online here, we were talking about swallowing big meat.
Well, I've nearly finished it.
No, that's a topic for another day.
Okay, so yes, today is National Hamburger Day. So what do you like to put on your burgers? And it can't be cheese because then it would be a cheeseburger, and National Cheeseburger Day isn't until September.
Oh, I didn't know there were two different things, but I always put cheese on a burger. It ruins it if you don't have the cheese.
Yes.
So
I know what you mean.
super lame West Coast onion ring barbecue sauce and giant pieces of bacon.
Oh, fucking.
Oh, yeah.
Bacon,
That's a
mushroom,
rodeo
and
burger.
cheese for me.
I get it
bacon,
every
mushroom,
time.
and cheese.
Oh,
Whenever
yeah.
I go to Five
As far
Guys,
as
that's how I get
cheeseburgers
it.
go, I
Yep.
like to do a nice mix. That if you put a slice of sharp cheddar and a slice of Swiss together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I always like to have cheese. I'm not a fan of egg in burgers. I'm just not, but I do like having my salads. I like mushroom, like Kitty. I also like something that is very Australian, and you guys probably don't have in yours, and that's beetroot.
That's what?
Beetroot.
Beetroot.
Oh,
is
beetroot.
gorgeous.
Okay,
I've never
before
tried
you
that.
put some blasphemous thing on a hamburger, I even like blue cheese on my hamburger. I like blue cheese crumble. I get gross with hamburgers. I like the big fat juicy ones. I go to Las Vegas just to
that
go to
one
Gordon.
is good.
Okay,
Gordon-
there's got to be something about a burger with kangaroo meat and car hops. So there's a
can get
joke
kangaroo
when the
burger
song
with
is weird.
I can get you that right now.
Restaurants.
I can get you a burrito with that right now. You want llama too? And some alpaca? I can get you that
That's
right now.
horrifying. My sister would cry. She wants an
Yep.
alpaca farm. And if I win a lottery, I'm damn well giving it to her.
Sloth Girl would like to have alpacas just to make yarn out of them.
I always said I went to an ostrich festival and I thought it was weird. People were walking around eating ostrich, watching people race ostriches while feeding ostrich to ostriches. I thought it was
Okay,
strange.
that's horrifying.
Okay, and this is going to sound like I'm trolling Stool, but I'm not. In Minnesota, it is actually surprising how many emu farms have popped up. This doesn't seem like the climate for them. But I could drive you around and show you a half a dozen places raising emu.
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 Yeah, I could get emu and bison pretty easy around here.
Why don't you say bison then instead of bison?
Emu is a phase you go through in high school.
No, that's
Oh,
emo.
that's out there now. My partner just told me like she was happy to have been with somebody who was an emo kid.
So I have a question because this is just an old guy question. Did you ever listen to Dashboard Confessional?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, I did too. In no way, shape, or form am I talking trash. I was
I
there
still
too.
don't mind listening to all the songs, like all the music that I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing to say. It brings nostalgia sometimes, because there were some good times in high school, but
People can make fun of me. I still listen to Weezer, and I can sing the entire Blue album from Jonas literally to the last word of the last song.
What the hell's
Nice.
Weezer?
yeah, nice. I actually
look
went
how
and I
Gideon-
Weezer
Do you
covered
know I've
before.
seen Weezer?
I
I've
think you
seen
just
Weezer-
ended
sorry.
up single, Jen. I'm pretty sure that you just ended up single.
Jen, do not ruin Hamburger Day. I can't believe I can't. I'm trying to stay on topic. We're gonna have a Weezer discussion later.
Oh, well, I won't be able to contribute much. Well,
I will
do
be.
you know
bringing-
what Weezer is?
Yes, I love Weezer. Yeah, I was just mentioning
Is
that.
music still?
Oh.
We still can't hear you still.
Oh, Sloth Girl! Yay, Sloth Girl's here. Is that we're getting
Roswell, glad you're okay.
Getting emu.
We still have a muted stool.
So Weezer is this you know what? I don't want to ruin Hamburger Day.
You missed all my funny joke.
Yeah, I did. So,
Oh,
do you know
fuck
what a
you.
Weezer? Do you know what Weezer is, Stool?
Stop muting me.
I did it. I can't.
Will you twat? Stop
He
muting me.
can't. He
We're
can't.
in
This is
purple
stream.
Oh, it's purple. All right, purple, you twat. Stop muting me.
So do you know what this Weezer thing is?
Yeah.
Stool?
Yeah.
Why don't I know?
Because Stool listens to music.
I have no idea who Weezer is.
I've seen Weezer a few times. I've seen Tenacious D and Jimmy Eat World a couple times because they toured around with each other in the early 2000s.
Tenacious D.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Fucking Jack Black, man.
So,
he is
one of the
a
most-
treasure.
He's a legend. I'm gonna tell you, in downtown Phoenix, Jimmy Eat World actually put on a good show. I judge all bands. You can judge me. I don't care. I saw them live. They tore the house down. So people were already kind of hyped up because this semi no name band back in the day, they tore it down. So they played all their popular songs, and then they start ripping their set down. A 70-foot flag with Satan holding a leash with Jack Black and the other guy naked holding their crotch comes down. And the entire crowd went silent. Tenacious D does not joke around. When they put on a show, like Jack Black comes to play. Like he does not F around. I actually really respect Jack Black. He scared the hell out of everybody in Phoenix. It was awesome.
For the benefit of the people who've just joined, I've had to Google two things in the past 10 minutes. One was, what are those things? What are they called, those devices that you cook in?
Air fryers.
Air fryers. I've had to Google those because I've heard good things about them. And I want, yes, I'm a boy and I've looked at fucking air fryers. But the price is, that's not going to happen. Second thing, I had to Google Weezer. And I'm going to go 50-50 with Australia Jen on this one because I got the name confused. Even though I know what a Weezer is, I got it confused with Wheatus.
Yeah.
Who did a really good song. And also Wheatus makes me think of a part of a penis. I don't know.
And
what
I've
it is.
heard of Wheatus, so I hadn't heard of Wheatus. And I've been looking through their discography on Wikipedia, and I don't know any of their songs.
Seriously, go to YouTube and just type in Weezer, their video. Look up Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly is one of the greatest songs.
Apparently,
of all
they are a
time.
very American band and not known well outside.
Actually,
outside the
Buddy
US.
Holly takes place in
Will
Happy
just say-
Days, and they're in a
Just
they're
say
in
Buddy Holly.
yeah, no, I said look up Weezer, the song called Buddy Holly. It's
Oh,
their
all
most
right.
famous
Okay.
song. And it takes place in the Happy Days set, which happens to be in a hamburger place.
Yes.
Oh, Alf's.
Try to bring it back around. It's Hamburger Day.
Though you
We're
mentioned,
actually
like,
talking about something
tried
I
it.
like.
Can we stop the
And
hamburgers?
the
now?
hamburger joint in Happy Days was Arnold's.
Oh,
Exactly.
Alfred was
not
the guy who
Alf's.
took it over later in the show.
Yeah.
So obviously, this is one of those bands that wasn't as particularly popular in other countries as they were in the US.
I'm going to
I mean-
retract my original laughter that I aimed at Australia Jen because I got confused with Wheatus, so my bad.
I'm biased
That's
because
okay.
they came out when I was in
looked
a,
them up, and I said they've got a song called "Say It Ain't So," and I was thinking, oh, I do know that song, but their song called that isn't the song I was thinking of.
Oh, I love see now I'm gonna totally have an old guy moment tonight and listen to Say It Ain't So and cry in the dark in my brown chair.
So one of my favorite bands actually is Coheed and Cambria. Like, I love the sound of their music. I love how fucking high Claudio Sanchez can sing and scream.
See, now there's a name I know.
And I love the fact that all of their songs are based on of the graphic novels that they wrote, The Armory Wars. So it's like a story within a story within a story, and it's phenomenal.
You see, you say Claudia Sanchez. I know who that is. I couldn't remember the name of the band, but I know who that is and now know who you're talking about.
Yeah, no, they're the only band I've seen live multiple times.
I actually feel I'm struggling with this stream, and I think you people know why. This is one of the most difficult streams ever.
Because you want to eat.
I'm so hungry, and you bastards are putting things in your mouths.
Want a chip?
Oh, gosh.
I'm not putting anything in my mouth right now.
And I still just enjoying watching me eat. I should make just a video of me eating.
Will, stop it, please. Will, stop it. This is not fair. Oh God, I want a burger.
Order a pizza. Isn't it time for what's in Still's sack anyway?
I want that to be recorded. I'm going to put that on my soundboard.
Let's turn to an ASMR episode.
Hello.
Hi, dog.
Hi, Peps. I'm gonna take my hat off to Stu for representing on Will's channel, the Brits. Well done, mate.
So, Dog, had you heard of Weezer?
The band Weezer.
Yes. Had you heard of them?
Yes, I love all them.
Dog, are you watching
Tenacious
TV?
D and stuff.
Yeah, you got a TV or radio going?
Yeah, my son's got. What's he watching? Hang on. He's watching Family Guy.
Tenacious D is amazing. They put on a great show too. Weezer was really like when I saw them the third time, they were really, really famous. So the show was.
I know who Tenacious D is.
But they put on an amazing show. Like I said, I really judged Jimmy Eat World, and they were amazing. You know what I've seen? Rap concerts aren't that exciting, but I watched Nas jump out of a helicopter at Rock the Bells in the middle of nowhere in California.
Hey, Jenny. Hey, Nikki.
I confess I couldn't sleep. I went straight to bed and casted to my TV, and I was like, you know what? I can't sleep.
Jesus, here, maybe I should just leave and go to bed too.
You're all here to taunt me with your food, and Nikki's still got the pizza, I bet.
Yep, it's in the fridge right now because I'm trying to save it for in the morning.
In the fridge? That's a waste. Oh, get it out.
It's chicken. No.
Come on.
I do that when I get a sub sandwich. I'll eat half and save the rest for
I can't
breakfast.
afford porn. This is how I get my fun. Come on, show me your food.
Crikey. I love
Yeah, full house.
overnight cold pizza.
So in America, Hamburger Day, is that like a national thing?
We just like to eat. Let's be real. We like sugar and salt in all of our food, and we love to
Well,
eat.
I know that. I've been to Disney World.
I got strawberry milk from Hershey syrup, so
Oh, that's good stuff.
I ran out of other things to drink, so I'm like, okay, milk, because I refuse to drink city water.
I grew up on city water, and I only have some health problems.
I do have a filter tank in my kitchen just because we have such a high mineral content in the water, but I've got nothing against tap water in most cities.
I don't either. It's just I'm so used to drinking stuff with flavor.
Well, the water in my area will kill a kettle in about 3 months.
That's the main reason I run it through the filter, because otherwise I get the white deposits on the coils of the tea kettle so thick that it stops being effective.
Wow.
From listening to Weezer to hear Perp say that.
And I won't buy Evian and things like that. I mean, the bottled waters. I mean, Evian is filtered through through volcanic mountains for 5,000 years. Yeah, it's got a sell-by date on the bottle. What's that all about?
Oh, I'm gonna answer Sloth Girl. Sloth Girl, So I'm drinking an obscene amount of Pepsi, and I've learned through streams instead of just getting up and getting a bunch of cans, I literally put them in an old glass pitcher.
Oh,
This
that's
isn't.
Pepsi. Yeah.
This is an old school standard glass pitcher. It's huge.
Always plan ahead, Will. I'm struggling at the moment because my big mug of
It's
tea
more than a pint.
is empty.
Yeah,
The problem is I end up getting up to pee a bunch, so it's a trade-off.
Well, this is my trade-off because I'm drinking milk, and milk and me at bedtime does not go good well. I have nightmares, so yeah, dairy doesn't do good for me at nighttime.
And Sloth Girl, I like Viking portions. I like having giant cups. I like having big plates.
He's just waiting for Ragnarok. Basically.
if you're having problems with milk or with any dairy, I would recommend that you get the Samathicone pills.
No, it's just nightmares. That's
Yeah, but the nightmares could very well be triggered, by your digestion, by you having too much gas in the intestines.
It's trauma. I already know what the nightmares are from.
Oh, okay.
It's trauma.
So if I eat a specific food, I don't want to say it because it's named after a specific race. But if I eat it, I have nightmares every time, and I truly think it's a gastro thing. It's not a anything spiritual or anything.
I have to ask Dickie, what trauma did you go through that particularly makes milk be your trigger for trauma?
It just triggers it.
Because but what came to my head was you were accosted by a rabid cow or something like that. So.
No, that's kind of not funny. When I was a kid, my dad took me to a rendering plant, and where they make the hot dogs is right next door to the dog food plant. And you have to be strong.
The trauma.
Oh no.
And this is, I think, I touched on this. I think one thing, and me and Purple might have us be on one of these next week about talking about it. But real quick, it's dealing with my ex and my daughter.
Wow.
And that's the nightmares of my daughter.
That's understandable.
Nothing for her. It's just more on my part. It's just, yeah. When I break down to the dairy, it's don't go to bed or bad nightmares.
Going back to Will's mention of the dog food factory next to the hot dog factory, there's probably better ingredients in the dog food than what goes into hot dogs, mate.
I worked in fast food in my early 20s. In America, Americans are quite literally eating grade D beef in most restaurants.
Yep.
Which is a step above prison food, and that's one step above dog food.
They just fill it full of salt and make it taste nicer.
Oh, I'm sorry, dog. Go ahead.
They use phrases like it's made with 100% beef. With 100, probably 1% of it is probably good beef, and the 99% is the bum holes and the arseholes and the lips and the teeth and the ears.
Well, had everybody on here heard about the pink slime that McDonald's had used? They claim they've stopped the process now, but
I actually have a few pictures on my phone. I'll spare you, but I was gonna I was actually gonna post a few pictures after Brexit. I was gonna be like, "Well, here, this is what you get. Here's some pink slime," but the pictures are gross.
they were actually using chlorine bleach to decontaminate the meat.
They're still doing it.
Yeah,
I barbecue all
they
the
still
time.
bleach, mate.
I barbecue all the time, especially during the pandemic, because they're either like rushing meat or it's old. I don't know, but there's a lot of pink slime.
Yeah, we have it here. That's how it's processed. They just put all the bad cuts and spin it around in a machine for hours until it turns into goo, and then they pump it into a sausage and slice it. Chill it and slice it.
The really cheap ass hot dogs that we get over here, dog.
Did you say cheap ass hot dogs? Are they legitimately made from ass?
That's the brand.
Probably, yeah.
I got what
says it on the tin. Cheap ass hot dogs.
Pork lips.
Is it? Wow.
Pork lips and beef rectum.
the things that we
Yeah.
buy over here, I actually really like them. They're really tasty. But at one point in my sad life, I had to stop eating them because I learned what was in them. And I thought, I cannot eat those fuckers anymore because
Do you
they're
know-
made of really bad.
It's a cultural thing, but I eat cow tongue. I eat cow tongue burritos all day.
Well,
Yeah,
as
we
far
have
as little
ox
ass
tongue
hot
here.
dogs,
Oxtail soup is the sexiest soup in the world.
What's that, Purple? Sorry.
As far as literal ass hot dogs, you know, a lot of people think that the natural casing hot dogs are so much better. They don't think about what the natural casing is. That means they're actually using the animal's intestine.
That
this
reminds
was
me
my
of a funny
biggest-
story.
Go ahead,
No,
Katie.
when I was in 8th grade, we took a trip to Washington, D.C., and we actually spent some time in Pennsylvania in Amish country, and we like sat down at this place and had like this big like Amish style meal. And they had these like I tried everything, and they had these sausages that they were so freaking good, like so good. And everybody was eating them, and I wasn't like able to get any more. So me being the asshole I am, wondered aloud if they were using natural or synthetic casings, and postulating that because it's Amish country, it's likely natural casings. And somebody came to my rescue when they said, well, what's the difference? And I explained what it was. I got to eat all the rest of the sausages. Well, it was me and one other person. Nobody else would eat them after that. It was just us chowing down on them.
Yeah, you need a good stomach on you to know what goes in them things and how they're made.
That's like when I found out what menudo was made out of. I still eat it though. It's tripe. For spoiler, it's tripe.
Yeah.
Well, that's just
It
belly,
smells
that's
horrible.
stomach lining, isn't it? Tripe.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Rocky Mountain oysters is all I got.
I've had Rocky Mountain oysters too. Buffalo balls are amazing. Cut that huge Navy vessel, cut it and print it.
I could never eat tripe. A friend of mine, raised Irish wolfhounds, and he fed tripe to the dogs, and I just could not get past the smell of the stuff.
Well, in menudo, they get it in this big pot. You're already starving because you're coming from church. It's a cultural thing. It's Jesus deprivation, and you don't know what's in the pot. I grew up eating it. I loved the stuff.
I never had this stuff until I had met my partner.
Menudo, and that's why I try not to harp on people from other countries, because as an American, I eat weird things. I eat more Hispanic food. Like I eat a lot of queso seco, which is dry cheese. To the average person, it's basically Hispanic Limburger.
I had sheep's eyeballs and turkey, and they are gross. They are nasty. Well, not as gross as what I had in America. It was a whole chicken in a tin, or whole chicken in a can. That was horrible. That was just bleached jelly chicken. It was,
I've never heard of anybody eating a whole chicken out of a can ever.
They exist. They exist, though. They exist. And the hamburger in a can is real. And the Thanksgiving Day in a can is real.
What the hell is Thanksgiving Day in a can?
You don't want to know.
They literally jam turkey, cranberry, mashed potatoes, greens, and they pack it in gelatin, put it in a tin can, and ship it off. Label it and ship it.
Yeah, they just put it in layers, so you can slide it out of the can, and you can just slice off the layers to have all the different things.
Ew.
Yeah,
it's real.
Yeah, it's a very sad thing for very lonely people.
And the canned chicken's real too. I've seen it with my own two.
And we like jelly sliding out.
Yes.
God no.
Well, I usually
it slides out just like the canned cranberry.
It's like the can's giving birth to the chicken.
Yeah, exactly.
It just slops out.
You're telling me that the guy from LA is the non-squeamish one in the crowd. I eat sardines. I love
all
lovely.
All right. So there are 3 things I will not eat: sardines,
Oh, I
Beef,
love sardines.
and the stinky cheese.
Oh.
I won't eat any of that.
My fiance loves sardines. They were definitely a comfort food for her.
Sardines are great.
Oh yeah.
I love
the
sardines.
canned cranberry sauce. You know, you fucking slice it up and just put a ham on it. Fucking canned cranberry sauce is the shit.
I
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like the jelly cranberry sauce. Sorry.
Like
It's
when you
no
get the
worse
little
than
ridges from the
jelly
can,
or
so you
jam.
know where to cut
Yeah.
to get
It's no
nice
worse
clean
than
slices.
jelly or jam.
It's so good.
Okay, so that's the new name of my punk band is Dick Shape.
Larry Hot
I
Dogs.
can't even say it.
He's a legend and he should be ashamed.
Oh, that's the new name of my punk band right there.
Did you know that hot dogs actually got that name from a vendor at Wrigley Field? Because it was, the different sausage vendors were competing, and the German sausage vendor called them Dachshundhound sausage.
Mm-hmm.
And the American guy just thought that was way too long to be shouting to the crowd, so he called them hot dogs.
So I'm going to ask a kind of a biased question. Do you guys eat hot dogs? And I'm not asking about wieners. I'm talking about actual real hot dogs. I cannot walk past, like at the Home Depot in my hometown, they have a hot dog cart.
It would be a Home Depot.
I spend like $15 every time I go because I get 3 hot dogs and a soda because they're so addicting.
Depends on the hot dog. Would I eat Oscar Mayer's? No, I would avoid Oscar Mayer's. Would I eat something made by Usingers of Milwaukee? Fresh ground, handmade, natural tasty? That.
Yeah,
It
definitely depends on the brand.
I'm biased.
Old Wisconsin hot dogs are quite good.
I'm biased because I know people affiliated with it. Hoffy hot dogs are the best.
People have an issue here with Chicago dogs.
Chicago dogs are so good. See, now I'm craving hot dogs.
There's this one stand where they will
Were we
refuse to
craving
put
burgers
ketchup on a hot
before?
dog.
The reason I asked is because we used to have what's that place that puts on the event every year? Is it Frank's Hot Dogs?
Nathan's.
We had one in the mall here when I worked at the mall in the 90s in the mall rat days. It was the greatest. It was just the most simple food. It was a giant hot dog with a bunch of toppings to stop your heart. And they would put nacho cheese on their french fries. That is grade A, heart attack, USDA certified. You are not going to live long food.
Hey, Junie, you were talking about Chicago hot dogs. Tell the folks what's on a Chicago hot dog. They don't know.
Okay, as far as I know, it's like onion relish. I know there's like a slice of pickle, sports pepper, whatever that is. It's literally like a tiny chili pepper, but and mustard. I'm trying to remember what on like a couple pieces of tomato, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
All served in a poppy seed dog.
Yeah,
but
I'm with Susan though. Got to have ketchup on the hot dogs, and
No.
they don't like
well,
that
yeah,
in
and that's the
Chicago.
thing. There's this one stand where they will yell at you if you ask for ketchup on a hot dog. So, yeah.
I like.
Well, how else do you suppose a hot taste?
We have a place called Okie Dog out here that's like that. It's like you get what they've been serving since the 1930s, and that's it. No deviation. Don't ask dumb questions.
There's a place in Massachusetts that I used to go to when I was a kid, and I make it a point to visit there every time I go back north to visit family, and it's called George's Coney Island Lunch. It's in downtown Worcester, which is the town I was born in, and like the way that hot dogs come there, they have a chili, like a meat chili. It's got no beans in it, onions, and mustard, and when you get them, you get chocolate milk on the side, and it sounds like the weirdest thing, but it there's some sort of fucking culinary magic that happens between those chili dogs and that fucking chocolate milk. It is amazing.
Can't go wrong
At
with
the
chocolate
bus
milk.
depot in
Especially
Toma,
school chocolate
Wisconsin,
milk.
you can get hot dogs from the 30s because I swear it has been the same 6 hot dogs on that roller grill since the 1930s.
I have a weird question. Has anyone ever gone to anywhere they've seen on television? Like I went to the Heart Attack Grill because I saw Guy Fieri or whatever his name is, and
Oh my
it
goodness.
lived up to its name.
Yes.
Well, I think I mentioned in the chat
Ooh.
in your stream was I was picking up an order for this customer because I'm an Uber driver at night sometimes, and so this apparently he has a restaurant. So I was just picking up like a Guy Fieri's Flavor Town restaurant. I was like, what?
That's awesome.
Now, are chili dogs hot dogs with a lump of chili on them, or are they hot dogs made out of Chilean people?
I went to
No.
a spoon once that I think it was Guy Fieri who had it on, but it's a place called Frank's in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It's this tiny little place. There's no room to stand. There's like about 8 or 10 seats, in the place, and it's known for its breakfasts. It's only open from like dark 30 to 2 o'clock, something like
I
that.
love places like that.
And
I've been to Frank's.
you order your base like omelet or two eggs over easy or something like that, and the hash and stuff like this, and you end up with this plate that is 8 to 10 inches in diameter and stacked about another 8 to 10 inches high.
Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. I love greasy spoon places like that.
Yeah.
Is what's called to where Bigfoot is?
How
when I
much
lived
money
in
you got? I'll
Syracuse-
take you to Bigfoot right now.
Bigfoot dogs. They'd be
When
good,
I-
wouldn't they?
When I
I'd have
lived in
one of them.
Syracuse, New York, there was a place that they featured on that diners, drive-ins, and dives that was supposed to be like one of the greatest hot dog places. So Sloth Girl should remember the name of it, but yeah, we went there, and it's like, yeah, for the build-up, it really wasn't anything special.
So I can't believe I'm saying this on stream, but Danny Trejo's tacos are the same way. Danny Trejo, the actor, I'm saying it my Southern California way instead of Trejo. Danny Trejo, he makes semi-good movies, terrible tacos. And he has a vegan place too. That's the only place I've ever been disappointed by.
And I hear he's a hell of a human being too.
Oh no! He is a great human being. He's from Hoover Street in LA. He's from one of the roughest neighborhoods. He gave back, and if you walk up to him, like, he's a real person. He'll talk to you. He's not like back in the day. It was known if you walked up to Eric Estrada, he would tell you to piss off. It was just known. So Danny Trejo is the kind of a person where you can walk right up to him.
Danny Trejo is the scariest looking dude.
That's every other person in LA kind of looks like that. And lots of people look like that out here. He's getting older though. I've seen him in person and I was like, oh, you're getting up there. It's kind of like I've recently saw Mr. T, and when I was a kid, I have a picture of me and Mr. T in Mr. T's heyday, and Mr. T's getting up there, and it's kind of sad.
Comes to us all, mate.
You guys talk about food. If you want an incredible vacation, what you need to do is take a couple of weeks and come up to northern Wisconsin. And before you get here, you get this book called Dinner. Dinner places in Wisconsin. I can't remember the exact name, but you should be able to search it out on Google and stuff like that. It's a book that talks all about the various supper clubs of northern Wisconsin and stuff like that. It was a fad that developed in the late 40s and 50s where places would be in these wilderness areas and open up these supper clubs, which would serve homemade food and
Oh, that
drinks
sounds
and this kind of stuff
awesome.
in a fairly small restaurant. But they would have their specialties like prime rib or sirloin steaks or T-bones or whatever like this.
Is that
And
an old? Is that
and
an
they
old
kind of
thing
took
from the
off
50s?
around the country, but then they died out, except for Wisconsin, where they are still going and producing some of the most incredible meals you'll ever have in some of the most picturesque surroundings, on the edge of a beautiful lake and just all this kind of stuff. If you're a foodie, it's something you must
Yeah.
do in your life.
There's a couple of those still in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, which, it's Michigan as far as taxes go, but in all other respects, the Upper Peninsula is just northeast Wisconsin.
I have a question for Doc. Can you smoke in any restaurants where you live?
No, you can't.
Doc?
There's-
How about,
Oh, Doc.
no,
I thought
either
you said
one.
Doc.
Either one.
In the UK, you can't smoke indoors at all in any public place. You can in your own home. But I want to go back to Nerdy's question. So he says Stool makes good wine because the way Stool is, I can only imagine him making prison-style toilet
Oh,
wine.
he's talking about Nora Batty.
Hang on a minute, just for
Stool
my
wine.
benefit here. Purple, could I have subtitles so I can
Well, Sal
understand
did
what Dog
stool.
is saying?
I'll have a fucking
Nerdy
scouse in
started
your
it
bell end.
about wine.
From the Great British Vineyards of Stool.
Doc, is it illegal to smoke in Iowa, like indoors?
Yep.
That was my real question. Because is there any states where you can still sit down and smoke a cigarette at in a diner in America?
Not that I've heard of.
Not that I can think of.
When
In a bar,
When
if they serve food, but it can only be like 5 or 10% of their cash volume. Like I know there was like a pool hall that you could still smoke in, and it was like a bar / pool hall, and they did serve food, but most of their money came from pool and booze, so they were in a loophole area.
I always wonder about that because I used to go to Vegas so much I kind of took it for granted. If you can handle your stuff, you could walk down the street smoking a joint and no one would say anything to you. But in anywhere else in America, it's really not like that,
Yeah.
Wait, you
I
could
think
smoke in the casinos?
No, but I was on Fremont Street and people were openly smoking blunts right next to the cops, and the cops were like handing them lighters damn near.
Well, even here in the UK, workplaces have to supply a smoking area now where you can't smoke anywhere indoors. And the smoking area has to have
I think it's incredibly
3
ironic.
open sides. It can be covered, but it has to have 3 open sides. Basically, it's just a bus stop.
It's incredibly ironic that when we were all kids, or at least when I was a kid in the 60s, you could smoke anywhere, anytime. Even doctors smoked, and we're in advertising for smoking. And now smoking is damn near banned like a toxic poison, and you can smoke pot anywhere.
Yeah.
It's completely 180
I
flipped.
remember, like when I was in high school, going to the bowling alley and smoking cigarettes inside the bowling alley, like as recently as when I was in high school.
Oh yeah. Even in the 1980s,
Well,
you could in most
that was
places.
30 years ago.
I was in high school I graduated 2005, so this would have been 2000. Like,
Really?
It would have been around, yeah. I was born in 2005. So, like, here in Florida, you could smoke in the bowling alleys up until I was, like, 16,
Yeah.
I think. So, like, technically, I wasn't old enough to smoke yet, but,
2005?
Yeah.
yeah, that was the year I graduated. I was born in 1986.
I'm not
Same age.
In some places, restaurants can get around it because some places they make an exception for private clubs.
So
which
here
they
in
define is basically if they like charge a membership for you to eat there, then they can have smoking areas.
Oh,
Junior,
speaking of meat, here's a good
Did you get out of
picture.
high school? Junie, when did you get out of high school? You're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't.
5'9", 210.
I got on 2010.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
In 2010.
2010. Okay. Damn.
So 11 years now. I know. I might be the youngest one here.
Yeah.
No, it's just weird hearing people who.
If it makes you feel any better, there was a 19 in front of the year when I went to high school.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You know,
we were still in the 19s.
During the war.
So what? So I graduated high school before Junie was born.
I was about to say the same thing here.
This is a real picture of me right here.
But then again, I think Junie may not be the only one in the stream who is more the age of the kids I raised. So,
What? No
but
way.
youngest person in the room would go to Chris. He graduated high school in 2017. So he's even younger than me.
17. That'll make him a millennial.
well,
No. Me and Kitty are millennials, and I can't say your name.
Okay, so this always confuses me because I'm 40. What does that make me?
You're the borderline.
that
Well,
makes you roughly the same age as my oldest daughter.
Well, I'm in
I'm
my
Gen X.
50s, so you and I are fuck people.
Yeah, well, I'll be 57 in a couple of months.
Doc,
So
what decade did you get out of high school?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I graduated high school in 1993.
Oh my God.
Oh wow, I'm older than you, Doc.
I got a question. Did anyone drop out of high school?
No, I didn't.
No,
I
I
did
stayed
not.
on.
I tried, but
I am the only one who has done it.
my dad threatened to end my life, and I believed him. And he drove me to school every day.
technically,
Dog, when did you get out of high school?
87.
Oh,
I
fuck
stayed
you.
on
All
2
of-
years.
Fuck all of you.
Well, I stayed on till I was 18. I did get expelled from a Catholic school. 'cause
Oh, I know
Catholic-
exactly.
Catholics
You are the youngest.
suck.
You are the eldest here, Jenny. You know that.
I have a
Yeah,
brother
that-
who graduated in
By how
87.
much that concerns me.
My brother was so desperate to get out of high school that he
Oh.
joined the Navy because that was legally the only way he could drop out of high school at 16.
I think same for my father because he joined at 17. He had his mom signed and everything.
But I still don't understand the logic of that. How can you think the military is going to be better than high school?
There's some
Because
people.
you don't get homework in the in the military.
You don't get homework because you don't get to go home.
I call bullcrap for not getting homework. In the Navy, you got homework.
I'm cutting that one. That's
Nice.
the quote of the night, Perp. That's the quote of the night.
Well, I think the oldest is between Purple, Jenny, and me. We know the shiny bullet Will is on is borderline now. So
But to be
Shiny
fair,
bullet.
I was quite literally the oops child. I have a brother who's 61. So my parents were like, "Oops, we're having another one."
yeah,
I
Yeah, I
got
was
out of
an
high
oops
school
child.
in 1972. So fuck you all.
When did you graduate?
1972.
I wasn't
June
even
11th.
born.
What? I'm sorry. What?
well, I
born
was
in
three.
73, Jen.
I was 3 when you graduated, Jen. 3 years old. I was still grabbing bits as sticking out on me.
I
I
thought
was
you graduated in the
-2.
late 70s.
No, that's when I transitioned.
Ah.
I couldn't even make it 10 years after graduation before I That's it. It's coming off.
Freaky chair.
I was -2 when you graduated.
What year? How old are your parents? Some of you.
Well, my dad's dead, and my mum's in her 80s. So
My Bob's died at 80.
My dad's dead. He was born in 1921.
Yeah,
my
my-
mom is still alive. She's 93.
Jesus.
My mom was born in 53.
My dad was born in 54. My mom was born in 59.
Nikki, your mom was 53.
No, she was born in 53. So
Yeah. Okay. And Kitty, you said 54.
My dad was born in 1954, and my mom was born in 1959.
Oh, that's funny.
you're old enough to be their parent.
I was born in 54, and my younger brother was born in 59.
I think
just like
I
my
think
parents. That's great.
I think my I'm trying to think. My mom has she's been like 71 twice, I think. I can't remember her age. I just accept it for what she tells me. She was significantly younger than my father, but my dad passed, and you know.
Okay, I gotta ask Junie, when were your parents born?
One at 64 and one in 69.
Oh, holy shit!
Damn.
See,
Wait, 10 years
I'm old enough to
exactly from
be
my parents.
Junie's mum.
I've
Well, one is 64, so one of your parents was born the same year I was.
Oh,
Sam
So I
Sam
could've
Chaos.
changed your parents' diapers. Huh.
But Sam Chaos told me I'm the same age as their mother, and I was like, I didn't need to hear that today.
Hang on, how old are you, Junie? How much old? Oh, sorry. Junie.
Oh, hell. This year I'll be turning 30.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you're a few years older than my oldest.
Yeah, but yet I still look like a high schooler.
Hold on to that as long as you can.
Should
It's
I-
a
Yeah,
great
don't
bullshit,
lose it,
and I love
Judy.
it.
Should I use my famous line on Junie? Junie, you're 30? I have socks that old.
I'm not kidding you. When people card me for anything, I say thank you so much. Thank you. When anyone says, "Oh, you don't look your age," I'm like, "Oh, you're so nearsighted. Thank you so much. Thank you."
Junie.
I have never been carded in my life.
It's dreadful that it's dreadful that my favorite toy here that isn't sexual is older than a large proportion of the people in this chat.
I still play Nintendo 64. I have a
Commodore 64. No, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
see, but look at the
Sweet.
Liberator. Look how beautiful that Liberator is in the
Oh, that
background.
Liberator's awesome.
Australia Jen.
I want
Australia
a
Jen,
Commodore
can you hold it
64.
up one more time and just stroke it for me, please?
No, Stu, they're doing that weird palming thing again. Where you're telling people what to do.
Oh,
It
Well-
needs retrobriding.
oh.
Well,
All I know is if I was father to you lot, I would be regretting, wishing I'd done a better job of bringing her up, because you're a fucking disgrace, a lot of you.
No, you'd be wishing you made her swallow.
We love you too, dog. We
well,
love
the way she flirts with Will is anyone
Still had her
surprised
drowned
that
in a
lights are
bucket of
long and
Beth.
brown?
I'm only
Australia
You
joking,
Jen,
ain't
of
seen
course.
nothing.
Can I do
Will,
one
Will
more
and I
request, please?
save our really dirty chat when no one else is around.
Yeah.
What's
I
Stool
have a
trying to say there?
request.
Oh,
I have a
I hacked into
request.
that chat once. Wow, you're not kidding me, too.
Perps, could
You-
you make
you- you
Australia
make me
Jen big,
blush.
please?
Make me beg.
Make Australia Jen big.
Do you want to see
like-
my Liberator?
No thanks. Could you hold the thing up again, please? Just hold it up.
Why?
This won't take long. Could you just tap the keys so I can hear the noise? Oh.
Yep.
Oh. Oh.
And it's a real one. It's got the real stuff inside.
Yeah.
Oh.
I am bummed that I lost all of my Commodore gear.
I can't open
Nice
it now.
cartridge.
I had a ZX Spectrum before
Oh
that.
my god. Nostalgia.
Ooh.
Okay, I
Yeah,
will
look-
admit this particular one does not have a
Nine.
legitimate SID chip in it because it's got a modern replacement for the PLA because the PLA died in it, but the modern replacements work just as well. But I do have a legitimate SID chip to put in it. I just haven't put it in yet. So
It makes you laugh that there's more data in a HD digital photograph than there is in that box
that
of
machine.
junk.
Well, did you see the number of chips on that circuit board that it needed to have 64K of memory?
Yeah. Yes. The sad part about it is that the Commodore was old technology. The Commodore 64, even though the chips in it were fairly new creation at the time, was fairly old technology at the time that the Commodore brought it out. Because I mean, at the time you were talking about processors that are nowhere near as small as what we have now with modern processors, but I'm gonna get this wrong. But Commodore had 2 production lines at the time for ICs, and the newer, smaller production line they were using for that they were starting to use to develop new stuff to go in their calculators and for the next generation of I/O controllers that they wanted. So when it came to building the Commodore 64, the engineers were constrained by using the older production line, which could not have as many transistors on the chip. So although their processors were upgrading, like the 6502, the newer versions of the 6502 were getting better because there were a few companies that wanted 2 megahertz and 4 megahertz versions of it. The SID chip and the VIC-2 chip were constrained by how many transistors they could put on the chip. So the guy who designed the SID chip in the Commodore 64 actually designed a 32-voice chip, but they couldn't create a 32-voice chip on the production line for the SID chip. In fact, they could only fit the 3 voices that the SID chip has. And if Commodore had been prepared to delay the production of the 64 by 6 months, which what was his name who owned Commodore at the time? Mental blank. He always had this thing that the new product had to come out for the Christmas rush so that you get the big sales up front. If they'd been prepared to delay it, the smaller production line would have become available and the SID chip would have had 32 channels of audio, which would have been an insane amount of sound quality for the time. It probably wouldn't have the 64 probably wouldn't have had enough memory for anybody to make use of it in the beginning. And they would have had to release RAM expansions for people to make good use of it. And there was talk at the time of putting an 80-column graphics mode in the VIC chip, which never appeared because by the time they'd added sprites on the VIC chip, they had no transistor space left. So,
well, I always remember the advert for the Commodore 64, and it bragged that it had 4 times more power than the Apollo 13 moonlander.
It did, but it was still behind the times at the time it was produced. The 64 was designed in 82 and came out in 83. And at the time when that was available, you were starting to have machines come out that had 128 and 256K of memory. You had slightly faster processors and things like that. Now, that didn't necessarily hamper the 64 at the time it came out because the video chip, the VIC chip is quite amazing in what it can actually do. And the SID chip was ahead of its time, but it could have been a lot more ahead of its time if Commodore had actually stood by what
that was the first machine I actually heard a vocal on. It was a game called V8, and it just said in a rough voice, V8 return to base immediately. Then it was your bog standard games back then. But like just hearing that voice, it was like, wow, this is the future.
Actually, then in the U.S., the Commodore 64 came out in the fall of '82.
Oh, that's right, it did. They came out in '82.
I got my first Commodore 64 in '82.
The PAL version didn't come out till '83, so the PAL version was slightly later. Yes, you're right. But it was developed basically in 82. The remit for Commodore was that they had 6 months to make this machine. That was it. That was all that's all the engineers were given was 6 months to build this machine. And considering the time constraints they had, the limitations they were given in production from Commodore, because of course Commodore owned MOS Technology, so that they had their own chip manufacturer. But they had to fall within the constraints of the chip of what they had on the chip runs, and the larger die, which had less transistors on it. That was what they had available to produce the SID chips and the VIC-2. And the initial run of the VIC-2 was faulty. The color control circuits for the NTSC version of the original run of the Commodore 64 is faulty. It doesn't produce the color tones that it was intended to, and it has color bleed like the Apple II does. So if you have an original NTSC Commodore 64, you can actually produce more colors on it than the 64 was intended. Well, you can do that on all of the Commodore 64s, but it actually had this built. It was actually a production line fault.
My first computer was a Mac 128 memory, and I will never forget when I increased it to a 1 meg machine, a 1 meg of memory.
Yeah,
it was. Oh no! No, that's
I've seen stools.
Why am I still front and center?
We were able to upgrade them to
Well, you were the one talking.
4 meg of memory.
I was.
You were giving us important history lesson.
I was, but that's only because I'm interested in the history, and it's really annoying me. I cannot remember the name. The guy who was his family had created Commodore business machines, and back in the days when they made calculators and typewriters.
Yeah.
What is his name? Was his name, because he died about 5 years ago. He went on to buy Atari after Irving Gould, who was the other main investor, actually got the board to kick him off his own company, and he went over and bought Atari. And that was the story of how the ST came about.
Yep. That's why the ST was so much like the Amiga.
His name was Harry Commodore. He was a distant relation to Larry Hot Dog.
No, it was Lionel Richie. He was in the Commodores.
Right. Yeah, Lionel. Lionel.
And he was in All Night Long, too.
Or that evil guy in the movie you always call Commodore, but you really hope he falls off the cliff.
Well, it's normally the Scooby-Doo is the Commodore and the caretakers, aren't they?
Always.
Jack Tremmel.
And pesky kids.
That's the name. Why couldn't I remember it? Jack Tremmel. But by all accounts, Jack Tremmel was a forward-thinking, brilliant businessman, but an asshole.
Well,
so you fit that in with the way that anybody who generally is successful in business.
You just described every business owner.
Pretty much.
Well, the real breakthrough with the Commodore 64 was it was the first actual computer that was available to just about anyone for under $1,000.
Not true.
They came out at about 800, and after a couple of years, they were down to 500.
But that's not actually even true either, Purple, because if you discount what was happening in the UK at the time, and I'm sure Stool's going to have something. Stool and Dog are going to have something.
Here we go again. Yeah, it was great.
If you just look at what was happening in the US.
Britain is the cancer growth of the world and all that.
I'll come back to that in a second. The Ataris were out by then, and they were under $1,000. So the early Atari 800s and 400s, they were out before the Commodore 64, and they were all under $1,000. So that's not actually true in that sense. But there was the first successful one because for some reason Atari, whilst they did really well with the 2600 gaming console, did not push their own computers properly.
I wasn't aware that the UK had electricity in '82.
If you're going to talk about the first cheap computers, you've got to go to Sir Clive Sinclair and look at things like
the ZX81
one and the ZX80. And the ZX80 was the original kit form. You could buy it as a kit and install it, and it was under 200 pounds, under 100 pound actually, wasn't it? At the time?
Future Life. Let's see what year this is.
And the ZX81.
1980.
Yeah.
What does it predict?
Oh, seriously, we're gonna have to do a stream about this. Your workday in the 21st century, robot workers invade industry, computers and ESP research, real starships. Man, they thought that we were gonna be so much smarter, not still fighting over race and acting like idiots in 2021.
I wish they'd been right.
These guys had they held us in high esteem. We have let them. They held us in
flying car.
But look at this funky Star Trek jacket, though. It's a duty jacket.
Hold on.
Picture's too small.
There we go.
Oh God!
That's
Look
cool.
at that haircut.
I want one. I want.
Look at that era.
Wow.
This is March 1980. Oh, this is an awesome picture too, because they really had faith in us that we wouldn't kill that we would like actually coexist with species and not just eat them.
I've never eaten a killer whale.
I bet you've eaten a dolphin before. I know what island you live on.
Hey, we don't have dolphins here.
There's a reason why. No, but Future Life is awesome and depressing in the same sense because people held out hope. You know? Oh, ironically, look at the one I pulled out.
Okay. Oh, Carl Sagan. Cool.
That's weird.
Groovy.
Oh, I see what it is.
God, that was a great TV series.
Yeah, they had so much faith that we were going to become so enlightened by the year 2000.
Mm-hmm. They thought that we were going to actually not. And the sad thing is now, if you ask Mr. Sagan's counterpart, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he doesn't think our species is going to last 200 years. Nope, that one's kind of indecent because they had different
I think
laws back then. I do too. It's so sad, but it's true. Like, I want people to really think about this. They thought we would be there by now, living like this, and we could do that. Where's my moon? Where's my Moonraker starship?
Wait, the Space Hotel is supposed to be out in what, 2025? So
Yeah, that's real. And right now, China is building the largest space array that will be unavoidable. Like, it will be so unavoidable because we will see it all. Return of the airships.
yeah,
Where's my Zeppelin? Where is my Zeppelin?
I don't know.
There is a company that is using airships to get up into space. Did you know that?
Oh, here's a good advertisement for an old movie. It's Sean Connery movie. I've become old and cynical.
Yeah, but you're still a nerd.
Yeah, and nerds are good.
Yeah.
I've just become cynical. I can't get old because old is always defined as 5 years more than my current age.
Because I remember reading these as a kid and being like, oh man, you can hold out hope. Maybe, we'll live like the Jetsons. No, we're still trying to kill each other. We're still fighting over. Do you know, I'm not going to get into it too much, but like the same stuff that was going on in Israel was the same stuff that was going on when I was a kid. That was the same stuff that was going on when, Jenny was a kid. Like, it's just, as human beings, we can't help but try to hurt each other. We're predictable.
Unpredictable. No, we're predictable.
I just, the big disappointment to me is how did we get past the year 2020 and we still don't have a permanent base on the seafloor?
Yeah, but that depends what you're talking about with seafloor, because it would be almost impossible to have a permanent base on the bottom of the Marinara Trench.
What Marianas?
Mariana. What did I say?
The marinara is delicious.
Marinara sauce.
Marinara. I'd love a marinara trench. That sounds
That sauce
awesome.
is good.
Damn it, I'm hungry again. Damn it, I'm hungry all over again.
We've discussed this before, though, haven't we? The deep ocean where
What
everything
would be
gets
the
all
point of
weird.
putting something in the ocean? I mean, how do you go to work?
I would go down there to avoid people. Send me down there.
Well,
No. You
Yeah.
As a submariner, you don't want to be under the water.
Who
You
wouldn't want to
understand
see a fish with headlights? I want to see
But
one of
what's
them.
the difference? Like, if you're living in an encapsulated area, what's the difference between being underwater and out in outer space?
Yeah, well, and that's
Yeah.
the way it was portrayed in the show. That living in the Sealab was basically the same as living on the space station.
Or even like, oh,
They
sorry.
just had a submarine that came down like once a month to bring supplies and exchange crew.
Except
I
one
obsessively.
except on one you get to float around, and the other one there's in danger of the ceiling coming in on you at any moment.
No, it wouldn't be the ceiling; it'd be the entire boat.
Well, I'm being metaphorical here.
Hey, okay, asphyxiation or dying of shock, but you're dying either way.
Yeah, it'd be implosion. There's
Depending
nothing
on how
else.
deep it is, like you probably get crushed before you drowned. So
Exactly.
there's that, rather than having
Yes.
your blood boil.
Yes.
There's also the real threat of alien like creatures down there, than in space.
When I was a kid, I saw the movie Abyss, and I wanted to go live on that rig. I wanted to go
Here's
live.
the other question. So since
This
someone
brings up-
mentioned Sealab, and then we've been talking about who watched Sequest back in the day.
I want a dolphin that talks.
I was so
love.
sad when Jonathan Brandis killed himself. Like, I
watched that
remembered
show.
him from the fucking Neverending Story and the second one anyway. And he was also in I think he was in the original like Stephen King's It. I think he played Bill.
Yeah.
Like the original miniseries they ran on Sci-Fi, and he fucking he dated like Tatiana Ali, and then he fucking hung himself in his apartment. Because child
I remember
stars
that.
have it rough.
So, the guy. Did anyone ever watch the Steve Harvey show? The one where he was a high school music teacher.
No.
There was a character. I was a young man of color who made a couple bucks. I don't think people realize, like, just because you're on TV doesn't mean you're rich and famous, or even famous or rich. This guy was in a syndicated show that was always on TV. He lived in the apartments in the hills on the other side of town by the freeway. Long story short, he was set up and robbed. Child stars have it rough. Because people knew he was famous and they figured he had money, and he was brutally robbed and murdered in this town. Yeah. And he played the character Romeo. You could look it up. There's a whole behind the scenes thing. There's a whole documentary about it, but it happened where I'm from.
Oh, or Judith Barcy, the little girl who was killed by her father. She was the voice of Ducky in the Land Before Time, the original. This adorable little child star. I think they were Polish immigrants. And yeah, her father was an alcoholic, and he fucking murdered her. He's a fucking asshole.
Well, what Will was saying is yet one more reason why I would not want to be famous. I would like my work to be famous, like as an author, but I would prefer it if nobody knew what I looked like, so I could still operate in normal life without people harassing me.
That's unspoken LA rule that if you live here, like at least out where I live, if you see someone that's famous, you leave them alone. Because it is kind of a horrible life where you can't go anywhere without people demanding your time. I can't stand people that have entitlement on the internet. I couldn't imagine someone walking up to me when I just want to go buy a pack of joints and go run back to my car, So,
Jinsu, what the hell is that on your avatar?
Oh, you haven't seen that
It
picture?
appears to be a four-eyed goat.
I've seen that picture.
No, it's highly disturbing.
I
No,
don't
but
know.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bruce.
Go no.
I was just about to go off, and that's the crummy thing about being famous. You know, it's a kind of a give and take. Like even what we were talking about on my stream earlier, like that person's mental health is just non-existent. But they made $36 million. They have a giant ranch. They made millions of dollars after, but they have poor mental health, and their quality of life is just low.
That's
So
what happened to Shirley Temple, didn't it? She had a terrible life after being a child star.
Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball's story will make you want to cry. Judy Garland. They worked until they were old because they were both ripped off. Lucy was ripped off by Desi Arnaz. Judy Garland was ripped off by every person that she ever came across.
Jeez.
Totally exploited, weren't they, Charles? And they still are. They're still exploited. Once they get to an age, they're used up and sent packing.
It's such a common thing with child stars, and I mean, you see it so much that, you know, that the Disney child and teen stars, you know, they really just chew them up and spit them out.
We have quite a few here
try
too.
Try looking up any of the teenagers that had a Disney sitcom in the last 20 years.
So would you consider Miley Cyrus a success?
I think that she's one of the few that managed to escape the cycle.
I'll tell you why. Because I know she's not from here, but she has brought so much awareness and donated so much money to homeless youth and to the LGBTQIA plus center here in LA that I actually really respect her.
Yeah, well, you know, but she really made a very loud public effort, you know, to break out of the thing of being a Disney teenager, to force people to recognize her as an adult.
Britney Spears as well. She continued, didn't she? But she's still getting ripped off by her father.
What would you think about Amanda Bynes, though? Does anybody know about Amanda Bynes?
I don't know what happened to her now.
She kind of became I'm trying to how do you say junkie nicely?
Junkie.
She fell off the cliff. She did a nosedive, and
that was Lindsay Lohan. Like Amanda Bynes had mental health issue. Like
okay, I am confusing. I am confusing the two. That's right. Amanda Bynes went crazy. Lindsay Lohan went full Robert Downey Jr.
But I mean, to be fair, Robert Downey Jr. got fucking multiple chances, as did fucking Charlie Sheen, and yet, like, Lindsay Lohan hasn't fucking worked in years, and, like, there's a double standard there, and honestly, like, you could even see, like, there was an interview with, that one, I think it was, like, Jimmy Carson? No. Maybe, I don't know, but, like, and you can see her physically, like, uncomfortable in this interview with Lindsay Lohan about, like, how basically, oh, you're gonna fall off the wagon again, like, how many times you've been to rehab now, just, like, really horrible fucking questions that are not appropriate to ask.
That's none of anyone's business.
Yeah. And, like,
Jen's
you can
got a
see
really
her getting, like,
inappropriate
really upset during that fucking interview, if that's what you even want to fucking call it.
Do you know what happens is that people who haven't dealt with drug abuse have no idea what it's like. They don't have a clue in any way, shape, or form what it is to walk away from any addiction.
Ooh, nice butt. Who's that?
I wish I could say it was mine, but when I was young enough to have done that look, I never took any pictures of my legs.
Hold on, where's my this is my Monday morning face.
There'll be way too much cellulite. Cellulite now.
Will, don't a lot of falling stars become drug addicts in the end anyway?
Do you remember did anyone ever watch Different Strokes?
No.
Oh yeah, I grew up on
Yay.
that.
Oh,
watched
Gary
it way
Coleman.
back, yeah.
A little before my time.
So
Well, Gary,
I
Gary
know,
Coleman was in his 30s as when he played that 8-year-old boy, wasn't he? He was in his 30s then. He was an old man, wasn't he? Well, he wasn't an old man. He was
they're
pushing
all,
middle age, though.
they've all passed except for Todd Bridges. Is anyone familiar with Martin Lawrence then? The
Yeah.
actor? Okay, so there's this thing called LA Famous. Is anyone familiar with Cat Williams, the comedian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so these three people, they have this thing in common where they kind of got washed up, came to LA, did a bunch of drugs, freaked out in Hollywood, and ended up in their underwear getting arrested by the police. There is a real thing
I don't want
where
to laugh, but
Cat Williams, especially because he fights children, so it was awesome that he got beat up by the LAPD because he thought special people get treated different here in LA and they get treated worse. but anyways, people, there's this really weird thing of, it's not rare here for someone to say, "Do you know who I am? I was an extra on Chips in 1987," or like, I've met so many.
that's
I don't know.
just
It's
sad.
It is, especially I'm gonna say something mean. The MTV generation. There's someone from the first generation Road Rules that got mad because a woman that was a friend of mine. It appeared that she was going home with me, but really he was creeping her out, and she's like, let's go somewhere else." And I was like, cool. But this guy was like, "I'm famous. I was on Road Rules. Don't you know who I am?" That was the first time at the Standard Hotel in downtown LA that I literally watched people point and laugh at somebody.
Well, that's it. Some of these people aren't capable of reinventing themselves, like the guys that do make it, and they get this incredible amount of money, and they go and blow it on cars and whatnot, and they become total arseholes.
I think-
And then they always end up with
People
nothing.
who say, "Do you know who I am?" need to understand there's a reason they have to say that.
Exactly. And out here you will get clowned because, and that's another thing, like being from LA, I was working at a sandwich shop and Paul McCartney walked in. I like when anyone says, "Do you know who I am?" In the back of my mind, I'm like, "You are no Paul McCartney." Because he was the most humble.
I would say no. I don't know who you are, but I'm sure you'll be serving me my McDonald's soon.
Okay, perfect example. Last Saturday, I went to the doctor and I heard a very familiar voice. And the man standing next to me was the newscaster that I watch in the morning. I didn't say a word to him, but I knew exactly who he was. I knew exactly who he was because I could tell by his voice and everything.
Okay.
But that's normal.
Julie
know.
says she's got to leave us, so bye-bye.
Junie.
Bye,
Bye,
Junie.
Junie.
We talk too much. I'm sorry.
How
Kiss,
can you not
kiss.
recognize me?
Oh, no,
I
it's
was
just,
Ewok number
I
11.
gotta get to bed.
It's okay.
Have a good night, love.
How can you not recognize me? I was a background person.
I was in a costume head to toe.
Yeah.
Okay, so has anyone here had a brush with greatness? Have you just had a casual encounter with someone who was famous?
Oh, a
I
ton.
Yeah.
I technically
Numerous.
have a bacon score of 3. Like, you know, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? Because I was in a project with a guy that was in a movie with a guy that was in a movie with Kevin Bacon. So I'm only 3 degrees away from Kevin Bacon.
So, all right. So, does anyone remember when Discovery Channel was doing the Storm Chaser
Jen, you're
documentary
muted.
Yep.
where they had the TIV vehicle?
Yep.
Guess what I saw in my small town of 3,000 people on the
That's
back
awesome.
of the truck at the Walmart.
But by the way, Kitty, you've just made us all be 4 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon.
I've got a thing.
That's actually true. Also, my dad has actually been to John Travolta's house. Like, my dad actually worked as a security guard for okay cat knocking something over, but my dad was a security guard for this first big fly-in, which was basically where John Travolta had a house, and like, you know, because there's like a landing strip there for the airplane and everything. And Actually, my family got a really big fruit basket from John Travolta one year because my dad was asked by him to check on his son Jet, who was sick, and so my dad, being the security guard at the time, he went and he checked, and the nanny was like off her fucking rocker. Like, I don't know if it was Scientology or something, but the kid's like, wheezing and like snot and like everything coming out of everywhere. And my dad actually called him up, and he was like, "Hey, the kid's not looking too good. I think he should be taken to a hospital." And so JT landed and then turned around and came back to Florida, and brought Jet to a hospital. And like the fruit basket was like literally bigger than I was. Like, I was like maybe 5-6 years old at the time. It was not long after we moved down here that my dad had gotten that job, and I just remember like there was so much stuff in that fucking like gift basket. It was huge.
I have one more. In fact, it's not far from where I currently live right now. But when I was in the hospital when I was 9, I got a visit by the Blue Angels.
Don't know who they are.
U.S. Air Force or U.S. Navy flight demonstration team.
All right.
Does the RAF have the Red Angels?
Well, the Red Arrows we have.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. I've seen the Blue Angels. They're awesome.
I had a totally geek brush with greatness that I met Jack Horner when he was consulting on a museum exhibit.
Nice.
Awesome.
Star Hustler?
No, the paleontologist that he was a
oh,
consultant
shit.
on Jurassic Park, and that in the first Jurassic Park movie, that one scene that you've got the paleontologist at the dig, and the kid says, that the raptor's just a big turkey. So that character is based on Jack Horner.
Cool.
Not
I
the
was
kid
thinking
paleontologist
of Jack
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of Jack Horkheimer.
Well, in my 20s, I used to live in Camden in London. So I used to bump into a lot of English stars. I used to drink with Ricky Gervais or in the same pub as him. Never bothered speaking to him because I don't find people impressive. If they're good at something, good on them. But you see, Hollywood and California seems to me that it's not what you know, it's whose dick you're willing to suck to get to the top.
Not even there. It's all about nepotism here.
Well,
it's all about nepotism here.
Before COVID picked up his
how Brady
business,
Bunch we are at the moment.
Before COVID picked up his business, the Grim Reaper had to be selling brooms, so then that was a death with brush.
I've met a few, but they're English, so you people will not know who they are. But I think my best one would be Tom Baker.
Yes.
I've said
You
before,
met Tom Baker.
I've still got his autograph, which he signed to me personally, to my name, The Brave. He called me Brave. Yeah. Because I lied and told him I wasn't scared of the Daleks. So there you go. And funnily enough, you mentioned Ewok number 11. I missed out on Ewok number 1 because Warwick Davis, my ex-wife, sent me a fucking text, the bitch, and said, "Oh, guess who's staying here tonight?" There you go, Warwick Davis.
Crazy. I'll spare you the picture, but I grew up around near O.J. Simpson. I've shown the picture with O.J. My grandfather golfs with O.J. Because of where I live, there's all kinds of washed up stars from eras of movies people have never heard of. I've met all kinds of famous people. Raven Simone almost hit me with her car in front of at Carl's Jr. in North Hollywood.
Does your granddad have little hands?
No, my granddad was actually a legend. He was a World War II. But you know what? It's funny. If it wasn't for people like my granddad and Eisenhower, you'd be speaking German.
Well, I was going to say he could have lent him the gloves that got him off.
That was totally wasted on the youngsters. They would
Of
not
course.
have got that one.
No, when OJ, when all that stuff came out with OJ, my grandfather kind of distanced himself because OJ.
This is not strictly a brush with the star people. I didn't meet them, but it is quite weird. Dog will maybe remember, but the Christmas commercials by Warburtons, which are filmed here where I live. So we have Sylvester Stallone. What's the Italian guy called? Got his name. Fuck.
Robert De Niro.
Robert De
Niro. Kermit the Frog and all these people.
He's not Italian.
No, Kermit's not Italian. We know that. All here. That is so surreal. I mean, Sylvester Stallone stood on the town hall steps. What the fuck? Robert De Niro at the bus station where I got that picture that I showed you where I'm all blooded and... Oh, this is surreal. This is weird.
And Stool forced me to watch that one. I've seen that commercial.
I know. I'm so sad about it because it is really fucking surreal that the Muppets and Sylvester Stallone and Robert... You're in my fucking town. What are you doing here? This is weird.
Come to see you, mate.
They filmed one of the Friday movies by my old high school. And coincidentally, it's the one where Ice Cube's family wins the lottery. They filmed that in my old neighborhood.
I almost got a walkthrough role in Jingle All the Way. That they filmed the parade scene for that in downtown St. Paul.
Yep.
Oh, cool.
And apparently somebody forgot to lock one of the doors of the building I was in, and we walked right out into the scene. But
it's not true,
they came through when we had to sign waivers for it and everything, but then apparently that bit got clipped out in the editing, so I didn't get in the movie.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Oh.
A few years ago, we all received in the neighbourhood. We all received a letter saying.
Sorry.
Right, no, don't do it. We got these letters saying between these dates, get your cars out of the way.
Yeah.
You can't park in your street because we're going to be filming this thing. It was Netflix. They were making not a little thing, it was a big thing. So everyone was pissed off. Well, we've got to put my fucking car. And because it was set in the 80s. And it sounds like a really good film. I've not seen it. So everybody had to fuck the cars out. It caused a massive fucking kerfuffle. And it was part of the shots that they were doing were actually in the street in which I live. And the brilliant thing was, and this is really sad and pathetic, a couple of days before they were shooting these scenes, a big wagon came along and deposited, I've got photos of this, a telephone box, phone kiosk from the 80s. And they did it in such a way that it looked real. And I could walk past this on my way to and from the shop, and I looked in it, and it was so perfect. It was literally top-notch research. It had the yellow pages in from the correct fucking years and all sorts. It looked fucking brilliant. And when they started filming a couple of days later, it was the hottest day ever. It was in August, and so we all piled out to watch this happening. And it was brilliant. If you're doing something that's set in the 80s, you've got to do it correctly, and this was perfect. I've not seen the fucking film yet.
They are clever. When I lived in Hertfordshire in Cheshunt, there's a lovely new build estate there, and they came in and they turned it. It was a Julie Walters film, and they turned this estate in Hertfordshire into a rundown council estate in Ireland. And it just looked amazing how they did it. And they did it in a couple of days, all boarded up windows and graffiti everywhere. It was really good. They're clever. And then when they left, it was back to normal.
Sorry, Purple. The second I see a troll and I see the word Jesus, I delete them immediately. It's a bad habit.
Oh, no problem. I'm clicking back and forth between other windows. I didn't see it yet.
I caught it right out of the bat.
Okay.
Trolls beware! I have no patience for trolls.
But as far as old telephone booths, this was in Michigan, 17 miles from where I lived. It is still a functional phone booth sitting out in the middle of a small town.
Oh,
What the
cool.
hell is that in front of it? Oh, that's your mask.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't tell what that was.
I thought you were making fun of me there.
No. The picture is too small. It just looks like this blob, and I zoomed in a little. And figured it out.
All of America kind of looks like, because there's a bunch of towns in California that look just like that.
I'm just amazed that there is still one of those things that is functional.
I get offended when people don't know what they are.
Yeah, just in the age of cell phones, everybody's got a phone in their pocket, so I'm surprised the phone company still pays to maintain that thing.
Oh, my favorite thing is the quote from Sonic. What is that? Oh, it's what is that used for? It's mostly used for drug dealers and criminals.
I have brushed with greatness.
Yeah.
Every morning when I look in the mirror. No, seriously, I do. But I can't pick which one. I've had so many.
Modest much, Jenny.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Hey, it's good to be hearing that from Jenny.
Why?
So, does anyone
Because
know?
you're so often down on yourself. It's good to hear you say something positive about yourself.
Oh, well,
Damn
none of
right.
them like me, but I met them.
So, does anyone know who Lindsay Hartley is? She was in a soap opera called Passions in the late. She played Teresa.
I watched Passions from when it launched as a spin-off of fucking... Wasn't it a spin-off of Days of Our Lives?
Well, no. What happened is when the show ended, they all went on Days of Our Lives.
Well, I know, because Rafe from Days of Our Lives used to be... What was his name? It wasn't Miguel. That was the other one. But he was fucking Teresa's brother. And then now he's Rafe.
Jesse Metcalf.
Yeah, now he's Rafe on Days of Our Lives, and guy, like, oh man, so much.
I worked at a sandwich shop, and I met Lindsay Hartley, and this. Keep in mind, this literally was in 2001, 2002 or 3. Okay, I'm a kid.
Was just starting.
Yeah, I was a kid. She walks in, and she had her daughter with her. She's literally holding her daughter in her arms, and like she walks up, she gets ice cream. She grabs my hand. She looks me in the eye, and she's like, "You're beautiful."
Aww.
No bullshit. I got weak in the knees.
Doc, are you aware your camera came on?
What, mine?
Okay, all I was seeing was a blank wall. I just wanted to warn you.
Still to this day. And then she sat there and stared at me. She is the kindest, sweetest, most nearsighted human being on earth. She thinks I'm beautiful, and I love her for it. She married a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy, but she likes the brown guys. But let's be real, like her and I are the same color with a good tan. On the real, she was an absolute, and she came in a bunch after that. She was a real human being. She just treated me like a person, and she'd tell me how beautiful I was all the time. But I worked at a sandwich shop in North Hollywood, so famous people walked in there all the time, and it wasn't rare for a bunch of people to walk in with cameras and be like, "Hey, can we film the beginning of our porno here?" So they would do the fake part where like the guy would pull up to the girl in the parking lot smoking a cigarette. Wasn't rare at all. was not rare.
Yeah, folks, that was a rare scene of my ceiling.
We've peered a little more into Doc's life.
So that's what Iowa looks like. All right.
Stucco.
When Sloth Girl came to visit me in New York, she wanted to see Niagara Falls, so we drove up there. And the motel we stayed in there, I swear, was the scene for every porno filmed in the 1970s. Everything was pink, right down all the bathroom fixtures. Nothing was white. Everything was pink.
Did they have shag carpet on the walls?
No, but I think the floor carpet had been there since the 70s.
Yeah.
They
Do
would
not
have
bust
tried
out
to
the black
remove
light.
the carpeting and replace it, but it was stuck.
Yeah, no, you never turn on a UV light in a hotel room.
There's
Never,
a
never,
hotel,
never.
there's a hotel by my house. It's a well-known trucker motel. Well, there's a huge truck stop at the end of town because the 5 freeway leads out to the Central Valley of LA. So, long story short, in at least 6 rooms in this hotel, there's a hot tub in every room. So my question is, since no one jumped on that one,
Yeah.
would you stay at a hotel that had a hot tub in it?
Yeah.
No.
I work at a hotel with a hot tub in it.
You
Well,
would have.
It was very enjoyable.
I have,
down,
but we were there for a sex party in the first place, so.
I was about to say, every time I've ever stayed at one, I've had a great time.
Like I
They do
had
have to
a
clean
honeymoon
them.
suite with a hot tub at one point. Like it was nice.
To be fair, though, sex in a pool or a hot tub is a little bit overrated.
Well, yeah. You imagine the
Yeah.
infections that have been bubbling around in them waters.
And
So
it's not
I'm
just that. I mean,
not going to get too detailed, but like at bathhouses, at least like once in San Francisco and LA, they have tables everywhere. So it's cool to get in the spa, or they'll have like locker room areas, but there's tables everywhere.
yes, have
And
sex on
that's
the
where you
table.
That's where you catch the Rona.
Not in the hot
Don't
tub.
forget a hot tub. The
Hot tub, you get chlamydia.
The water's not hot enough to kill stuff, but if you introduce soap does kill most stuff. That's why they can use it as disinfectants. You see, your chances are you're going to be fine.
And
as long
if you
as there's
drink
soap
the soap, you'll be
introduced
fine.
somewhere. That's just
Oh, Donald Trump style.
Oxys.
You'll get pregnant. Come on, be realistic here.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah,
Oxys
you don't have
not
sex
lying.
on the beach.
Sex on the beach is the worst. I already just thinking about it. I'm already annoyed.
Yeah,
Sex on the beach.
Go into the ocean and have sex, and then
Okay.
find out how fucking uncomfortable it is in salt water.
Ugh.
Well, realistically, a hot tub, the water temperature alone is going to kill most things. So you're more likely to catch something from the bed in the motel than from the hot tub.
I would agree.
Does
You're more likely
it
to
really
get
get
something
hot
from the
enough to kill
phone.
anything, though?
From the phone in the hotel room or the.
So I'm
dressing
not.
room.
I'm not scared to say this because Jen's gonna find out anyways one day. What I bring my own sheets to hotels.
Oh,
I trust no one. No, I don't mess around. I trust no one. I've worked fast food. I've worked hotels. And because I travel to Vegas so much, I don't trust. Oh, they don't ever clean anything. I've found packs of cigarettes, poker chips, they miss stuff all the time.
Well, I have to ask: are you related to Howie Mandel?
No, but like my generation was the one where they like they would say you could catch HIV from sitting on a toilet seat, or that was when people didn't know anything about AIDS or HIV or the difference between the two, or so the propaganda worked with my generation and it turned people my age into germaphobes. Wrap it up, wrap up. I was literally out, like in public. I just recently stopped wearing gloves. Just
Well,
recently.
to kill bacteria, water needs to be at least 85 degrees. That's lobster cooking heat.
Yeah, water.
Yeah.
Organic life tends to be dead by the time it hits 160 Fahrenheit. Before that, it's a crapshoot whether or not it will be dead.
Well, probably in Australia, spiders probably killed it or something.
We have just as much poisonous stuff here in California. They're just not as huge. They evolve. The Australian ones had time to evolve on their own,
didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
There's more poisonous and dangerous stuff in the US than there is in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we
have conservatives.
We can de-elect them every 2 years.
Jen, do you guys have scorpions?
We do not.
We get scorpions here.
Yeah.
You gotta look where you're walking.
We've got a couple of poisonous spiders. We've got, of course, box of jellyfish and the luring octopus. Yeah.
I know they're not like magpies, but we have blue jays and hawks here, and blue jays are the most evil bird on planet Earth.
Yeah, our magpies are pretty wild.
Well, magpies in Australia are really cocky. Humans just do not bother them at all.
I have to find the video. There's a
Do you know what animal kills the most Australians each year?
Chihuahuas.
No. The horse.
Humans.
Oh, aside from humans. Non-human animal. The horse. Horses are the cause of more deaths than any other animal in Australia.
How?
Either people riding and falling off, or the horses get out and end up in the middle of the road, so people drive into them, and things like
that's
that.
like when I found out.
Kicked.
I was surprised on how many people die of tractor accidents here in California, which makes sense because we have massive swathes of farmland here. We do produce a ton of food here, but private owners of tractors, their death rate is unreal.
Tractors are a very dangerous vehicle. They are unstable, as in the three-wheeled version is highly unstable, and people seem to not understand center of gravity and angular momentum and things with them, and they kill people all the time.
Yeah, tractors are unstable because they're so tall and narrow.
And then you get pinned under one and you're done. And I was actually speaking with somebody. Hold on, let me kick the troll. I was actually speaking with someone who recently purchased a tractor and was like, yeah, in Northern California, it's known that if you're out there on your tractor, you have to tell somebody because people die in the field all the time. Because somebody will have a midlife crisis and they're like, oh, I'm going to buy a tractor and tend to my field, and they don't know how to drive it, you know. You shall be what?
How is that not working?
Wesley is such an arsehole.
Boot.
Yeah, and I have no idea what that omnibar is he's talking about, and I really don't care.
Oh, he's just a ultimate bellend.
What are you talking about?
Thank you, dog. That's one of my favorite British insults. Calling someone a bellend just makes my fucking day.
Well, Wesley is a top-class bellend.
You know, when I get bored, I watch old sci-fi shows from the 90s and roll really big joints. I don't go into chats of people I don't know and start spamming them.
Yeah.
Well, I did one time, but I was having a day.
Well, you know you've arrived when you get the trolls. You arrived.
Don't count. Turfs don't count.
Yeah,
True.
yeah. They're just starting to show up on me on the last, couple of months.
Cool.
It's just weird.
Yeah, I don't understand why anybody would waste their time doing that, but
Especially on here where it's just a group of friends chatting.
Yeah, we're just chilling. It's not like it's not like we're trying to. It's not even like we're debating
We
anything
haven't.
about.
And I don't think we've even brought up religion once in this stream. We did in the previous one, but not in this one.
yeah, no.
And don't get me wrong, I do quote Chris Hitchens. I love God bashing.
What
Not all about
did I
God.
miss?
No, I didn't say felon.
What did I miss? Because I just called into work. So.
Oh, we had a troll.
Well, I saw that. I saw you delete that. I was here for that when you were deleting messages, but.
You shall be gotten rid of, Omnibar.
My whole
Yeah, is
point
the
is that-
Omnibar some kind of sacred relic or something that he's going to use to slay his foes or what?
I'm going to start referencing
It's a religious fruitcake. Well, they totally are, aren't they? They're all nuts.
I think you might be insulting fruitcakes there, dog.
Probably.
I like fruitcake.
to
I
dedicate
don't
your
know.
life.
Fruitcakes are delicious. I reckon
Yeah.
a Jesus freak would be delicious too. Mm-hmm.
I am Captain
Put 'em in
Lefty.
hot dogs.
I am Captain Lefty, tree hugger. So I do I kind of look at trolls like I feel sorry for them. Like there was one time that we brought on Tangelo in and talked to him, and like he was an actual person. He was talking about how he liked boats, but the second we veered away from not talking about religion, he got out of the stream because we were not talking about religion at all.
Yeah, and I'm open to anyone coming in here, but you're not going to be pushing your religious stuff on other people who don't want it.
Exactly.
I sure as hell don't want it.
That's why we're here.
The old-fashioned rule of don't be a dick.
They need to
Well,
remember that freedom of
perfect-
religion also means freedom from religion.
Perfect thing. I work at a government facility.
Well, that's it. To be fair,
Hold on.
Pep, well, if you were having a discussion on atheism, then by all
Hold on.
means, come here and we'll rip you off we'll rip bits
Those
out of
cars-
you in public.
Cars are on the wrong side of the street, by the way.
Yes, they are.
I would kill to have one of those. I would turn it into a rally car. Oh, I would have so much fun with it. One of those.
That's really cool. I see what he was saying about the level of detail there. You really got to give it to the props department. And one of the hardest things to do with making things realistic is building something and making it look like it's not new.
Yeah.
The fun thing about that photo, the phone box, because I could literally walk past it for a couple of days. It wasn't guarded or anything, and I could look in and see the open yellow pages, and the bit of black that you can see on the ground. You can see a strip of black running kind of up and down next to the left of the car. That was laid. This scene probably lasted for about, I don't know, or this shot for about 2 seconds. That's to stop the actor person from slipping.
Because that was the new model phone box, wasn't it, that came out in the 80s? The old one had small windows in it, lots of small windows all the way around.
It wasn't locked either, so I felt a bit guilty that I didn't step inside and have a piss in it.
Yeah, that's a good thing about English phone boxes, they stunk of piss.
To be fair, we used to do that to cop cars here in LA because they can't turn their cars off because of all the electricity in it. So you'd always, if the cops were stopped, they'd always have like the rookie cop guarding the cars. Oh, humans are just awful.
We certainly are.
We are an awful species.
But as
Okay, 'cause we're looking at the phone box and car now. I'd really rather look at my friends than some English crap.
We were just admiring the detail work of the prop department.
Jenny needs a pointy hat. That's a statement. That's a pointy hat statement.
Yep.
We fought a war, so we didn't have to stare at those phone boxes.
And that came from somebody who live streams her dogging sessions. Just saying.
I don't know what a dogging session
I
is.
probably know who she is. I just didn't want to say her name.
Well, dogging in the UK, I don't know if it's a UK thing, is it? Dogging is a place where you'll park up in your car and have sex. Allow
All right,
others
dog.
to
Oh,
watch.
I'm going to shatter some illusions. Dogging is huge in America.
Oh, fair enough.
People, wherever there's human beings, they will meet to have seedy sex and have other people watch.
It
Yeah.
happens a lot in America, but I haven't heard the term dogging used.
Well, we call it cruising in certain circles.
We call it watching the submarine races.
We also have cottaging here as well.
Sorry, I can't. I become a kid every time someone says that. It makes me laugh.
So you know what it is then. Will.
Yeah, don't type it into a certain. Don't type it into an engine and see what happens.
I do have to admit, some of the best times I've ever had necking were in a car. And there's something about it. You're out right there in public and you're not at the same time, and it's.
So I want to take you back. How about necking at a drive-in movie theater?
Oh yeah, same thing.
Okay, so
You're car mad though, Jenny.
Except
some
it's
cars it
unexpected.
works better than others.
And then when the windows
It
get all
did-
steamed up,
yeah.
and
It did not work very well trying to have sex with a woman who was 6'4" in the Geometra with a stick shift.
Yeah, no.
That just gave me all kinds of mental
which
images.
way was she facing, and was she between the seats? That's all I want to know.
I had a
We tried a couple of
Mitsubishi.
different positions and nothing worked.
I had a Montero, and I loved that car, but that middle console was terrible for getting roadhead.
Yeah, it was.
Because it was
So much better.
giant console in the middle of the. It was one of the only luxury vehicles I've ever owned in my life. I miss the car. I miss the leather. I tell you, I miss it. But it was the worst car to get roadheaded ever.
At one time, I had a 1974 Buick. What was it? Not the. I'm forgetting what the model name was. But it was the Buick equivalent to the Chrysler New Yorker.
Skylark?
No, it was a freaking land yacht. I mean, it was built to be.
225.
One New Yorker.
Yeah, it was built to be competing with the Cadillacs, and it's like, the trunk was like a bed that could sleep 3 people. The interior was, the thing was just huge. It was surprising it could fit in one lane.
When I was a young child, my father had a Lincoln Continental, and that thing was so huge you could put 3 kids and his wife in the car comfortably, and we'd go to Mexico in that thing. That car was huge. Still, your pictures.
I have to take off. My phone's dying.
Stool in his natural environment.
It was great seeing you, dog.
Yep. Thanks for coming in.
You betcha. Have fun, guys.
See you, Doc.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Just, can you make that big, purple, please?
If I must.
I remember back many years ago, like when I was in high school, I had told my mom I was staying at a friend's house, and she didn't want me driving to Orlando because she didn't want me driving on I-4 because it's notoriously bad for car accidents. And I was staying the night at my friend's house and then left in the middle of the night. Well, not the middle of the night, but left to go to a hotel party down at the Hard Rock Hotel at Universal Studios in Orlando. My mom had told me that I needed to be back home by like 10 a.m. And so I go to this party and hanging out with one of the guys there, and we end up like making out in my car. and like the security guard comes and like taps on the window, and he looks at me and he's like, "Ma'am, are you being accosted?" And I'm like, "I'm good, thanks." and he walked out. So then we brought
Working
it
on
back
it.
up to the hotel room, right? Right? I'm trying. If you fucking back the fuck off, step off. But then went up to the hotel room and, had an interesting fun night. Ended up saying, all right, I'll leave, and head back to my friend's house. I was planning on leaving about like 4 a.m. or so. Ended up falling asleep on the bed and waking up. Now, it's like an hour and a half drive to my parents' house from there. I was supposed to be home at 10 a.m. I woke up at 9, and I had to get all my shit together and get an hour and a half away and stop by my friend's house to pick up all my stuff. I was about 30 minutes late, but my mom didn't seem to mind. But I was in a Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, and like the speedometer only went up to 100, and I had that needle buried as I was zipping down I-4 on a Sunday morning and being stupid. Like, because those things are not great in crashes. Like, it was dumb. But I survived, and here I am. But holy hell.
Back in the 80s, the government had this really stupid regulation. They were trying to save gas. Okay, so they thought that if we don't have cars that are really fast, people won't go that fast and they'll save fuel. Except the cars were really fast and were capable of going over 100. So what the government decided is we just won't let the manufacturers put anything over 80 on their speedometers. And so for a couple years, cars were produced with a speedometer that only went to 80.
Jenny,
we would measure to boast performance between cars. We would establish a new statistic, and that was hang time. You'd get it going as fast as you can, and then back off the gas, and you counted how many seconds it took to drop back down to 80, and the needle starting to move.
I had a
Didn't you just get a lot of them
1983.
that would just mess up the speedometers at that point?
Exactly.
No.
I had a
Well, like,
1983 Ford Ranger, and that thing wouldn't go past 85.
couldn't you get out of a speeding ticket that way, though? Like, I mean, it's like, it said I was only going 80, speed limit 75 on the highway, like, it
No,
said I'm only
because
going 80.
at the time the speed limit on all the interstates was only 55.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's
if you were
true.
going 80, they had you.
And now I have Sammy Hagar stuck in my head. You can write me a ticket going. Sorry. I love 80s butt rock. That was my era. MTV era. I love all those cheesy music videos. It was a great time to be alive.
I have a pocket.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got a couple empty seats now.
That red on black is nice.
Oh, that's just because I didn't want to change the thread, like, for here, and like there's interfacing here to make the fabric stronger so the pocket doesn't give out. And then I don't have a serger yet, so just like an overcasting, like an overlocking stitch with my overcasting foot. But yeah, so like the pocket
Can you do a
on the
zoom on
inside
that
is red.
stitch?
Oh,
Could you zoom in on her doing that, showing that stitch?
Yeah.
let's see if I can find one where it's a little less messy. But it's basically an overlocking stitch, so it keeps the edges from fraying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's cool.
the overlocking foot is this one here. On my machine, it's the G foot, but it's got a little bar in the center, which is actually a little tiny hook almost. So like the stitch slides off the back. So when you're doing it, like everything's locked into place and you've got this edge to line up to. And then when you go to lift it, you can't just lift it straight up. You actually have to slide your work backwards so that it comes off this little hook part right here at the bottom. So But friend is done. Like I had sewed it together before putting in the socket because I was not paying attention because I'm kind of tired, and I still have to. I still have to rip out. I was gonna put in a pocket on the back too, but I think now I'm just gonna say fuck it and not bother and just do another pocket on the inside with a zip because I was basically gonna do one of these for the front and the back, but now I think I'm just gonna do one like this and then I'll do another pocket on the inside so that I can sew this back together and be done with it and not have to rip out the stitches on
inside
both
pockets are
sides.
better. The outside pockets don't feel safe, you know.
And then like there's little elasticated pockets here too.
Cool.
Now, have you
So
put
now I
a
gotta
water
sew
bottle
this
in
up
that
here.
pocket to see if it actually is tall enough?
Oh yeah, no, it holds it. It goes pretty decently up the bottle. Like
Oh,
that
okay.
water bottle disappears. This one actually I made this bag extra wide. It's actually 3 inches wider than the ones I normally make because this pocket now is big enough to hold my foldable cane because I actually have a cane that folds down and so I can keep it in this exterior pocket and it works because like when I'm getting around out and about I need a cane to help me walk. So I'll be able to keep it on the bag in this extra deep large pocket. But it's plenty big enough for 2 water bottles.
Cool.
See?
I like that. That's neat.
Yeah, all I did was the main bag piece, like the large piece here, stayed the same. The only things I had to modify were the bottom panel and the side panels and the side elasticated pockets, and then the zip panel that goes on the top. I had to essentially add 3 inches, so I added 3 inches to the width here. I added 3 to the width on the bottom panel. I had to add extra inches to the elasticated pocket as well so that would all line up. And then I needed to add basically 1.5 inches to each of these little ones for the top zipper panels. So that way, because it's basically, one on either side, rather than adding 3 inches and 3 inches, then it'd be too big. So 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches, it makes the full 3 inches so it stays centered. So when this one's done, it's going to be like my new purse. I wanted it to be a bit bigger than the one I had before, and or the ones that I made before, I should say, because I have a lot of stuff that I bring around with me. And I might even think about trying to put in extra pockets on the inside, but that's something I would deal with tomorrow. Right now, I was planning on trying to finish the outer shell, but it's getting kind of late, so I had to rip the stitches and because I had forgotten to put the pocket in, so I'll probably just
Oh
put this
yeah,
in place and head to bed soon.
when you have to start ripping stitches, that's I do that all the time. I get over ambitious.
I got myself a brand new seam ripper, so it's stupid fucking sharp, and it's
Oh yeah.
so nice, like a hot knife through butter, baby. Good shit. There is nothing like busting out a new seam ripper. Like, you don't want to have to use it because it means you fucked up and you made more work for yourself. But when you do have to use it, having a super sharp one, good shit.
Take one of those to your favorite dress shop, and
Oh no!
work a few different seams, and then try to get a discount off of it.
Here, you're on camera. Even at thrift stores, they got like full closed circuit cameras on you.
You'd have to be some David Blaine, Chris Angel kind of sneaky.
Am I still echoing?
No, you're good.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're good now.
So I have to take a call with my doctor.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving.
You didn't hear any of it, did you?
No.
No, I
No.
had you muted for it.
Oh, good.
And then you could see here where I've got extra stitching because I had started sewing the edges together with an 1/8 inch seam allowance when I needed a 1/4 inch, but that's an easy fix. It's basically just start over further in, because if you make your seam allowance too small, it's easy to fix it because you just sew a little bit further in
Yep.
to get it right. It's if you make it too big, then it's a pain because then you have to rip it and everything. It's annoying.
Yep.
But no, I should hopefully have this bag finished tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, definitely by Saturday. So for the fucking nerdy stream, if you end up doing it.
Oh, I am. I'm gonna just to see the thing about sci-fi. It's such an open topic because I'm into like Star Wars books. I'm into Star Trek books. I'm into nerdy movies that people haven't seen in 60 years. You know, I'm into black and white.
If I ever find the
sci-fi.
X-Men Star Trek crossover book again, I will pick up a copy and send it to you.
And that's another thing. Like I was pulling out my long boxes. Does anyone care that I have like all the 90s run of the Fantastic Four and all the reprint, like all the like Doctor Stranges?
Oh,
I have
That's
tons of
awesome.
Swamp Things from the 80s.
I got you this Saturday. we can talk about some lore. There's some lore
We can
that a
definitely
lot
talk
of
that.
people have not heard about.
I see. I like that. I need something new. You know.
well, I
feel that's-
actually
Sorry,
I
Bert.
stopped following the comics in the early '90s. So if you've got like the full runs, especially Doctor Strange was my favorite.
And I have
I would love to see those if I could see the full run of the stories.
We got.
And I have.
Fantastic Four in the '60s, early '60s.
Well, what happens is every era they they redo the story for each generation. You know, they'll change something, change the costume, add a character or something. You know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And in the 90s, because things were mass produced, because I have like baseball cards, certain ones are higher value and certain ones are less, because in the 90s things were mass produced by the millions, you know.
Well, and one of the things about the Marvel comics, they actually let the characters age and go through natural progressions.
Yeah.
Marvel's better than DC.
Well, because they made the characters seem more real.
I think
one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is the original Spider-Man. Peter Parker was still in high school. He was like 15 when he got his powers.
Which is the whole reason
I'm a super geek. Like I have a full run. I have a full run of the Defenders and the Mighty Avengers. Like I'm a total geek when it comes to comic books.
That's
I've just recently got Disney Plus, and I'm sort of getting into the Marvel verse now.
And if anyone wants to see what Captain Marvel looks like, it's the lady with the fro in the back.
Hey, now here's an idea for a stream. Why don't you do like a live reading and show and tell of various comics? You know, So part of the capitalist in me, I don't know if I have doubles for all of them. I have to look and see what runs I have doubles for, because some have only been touched by two humans since the 60s or 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
Well, wear gloves.
Well, wasn't Carol Danvers?
No, but if I'm like really down and out one day and I need to buy a yacht or something, I'm gonna sell all my comic books.
He has to buy a yacht to sail to Australia.
If I need new tea, yeah, exactly. That's my GoFundMe.
Well, check private chat.
But Captain Marvel was Marvel's answer to Superman, wasn't he? Wasn't she?
I'm going to get going, guys. My shoulder is killing me. I've got to the point where I can't sit here anymore.
Yeah.
Bye, Jen. Love you.
Bye.
Bye, Jen. Ooh.
The one I got into was The Boys.
I've read that one. That one. Sorry, I'm geeking out.
I really love the Defenders because they had some really interesting characters in there.
Oh, okay.
And-
This Saturday I'll pull my long box out.
Yeah, well,
And one of the
we won't
best
talk about
ones
some
was
shit.
the original storyline for Valkyrie. Valkyrie had the greatest superhero secret identity ever. Even she didn't know who she was. Whatever happened that gave her her powers had erased her memory.
Well, Marvel also had heroes that had no powers, didn't they? They had Raven, Hawkeye, the Punisher. As opposed to
Luke
Daredevil,
Cage.
he just had enhanced Luke Cage. Well, no, he had enhanced strength, and he did have a superpower. He's bulletproof, wasn't he?
I'm like trying to stop myself from. I just cleaned out my closet today, and I put like one long box and 6 short boxes together.
Well, The Boys, that's the one I'm into at the moment, which is from a comic book, and it's showing on Carl Urban on Amazon Prime, and that is
so excited
really
to
good.
Free. It's so good.
It is good, isn't it? And I know Carl Urban's Australian, and his English accent is terrible, but it's not far from a London accent. The language in it is atrocious.
Another Marvel character I like that only showed up a few times that virtually nobody knows about was Union Jack. Which basically, he was a World War I incarnation of Captain America in Britain.
So one of the only reasons I know about
any character called Union Jack is not going to last in any genre.
I had 2 unopened 1992 full card runs, and in the box is still plastic, and my son opened one. So we went through every card because I was like, this is what happens to parents. I got caught slipping. But I'd been hoarding it for so long, and my son got into it when he was a kid, and I found Union Jack. I probably have the card somewhere around here.
Well, I really admire you, Will. I'm just really impressed that the kid's not dead.
And I'll tell you why, because my dad would have killed me. My dad was a collector, and he would have literally chopped my hand off. I'd been walking around with one hand, and it's not. Life is meant to be lived. It shouldn't be in a box.
Okay. In the 90s, when I was raising kids, and I was collecting some of the classic Transformers and things, I actually enjoyed trolling a lot of the toy collectors online. Because I would do things like showing pictures of my 3-year-old transforming classic Transformers. And they were all like cringing, like, how can you give that to a child?
There was only one mistake, honestly, that I ever made. I came up on a really long run of the Hulk because I buy lockers. I'm just a ruthless capitalist in general. And Isaiah was freaking out because I wouldn't let him play with the comic books because, to me, that's money, and I did make a lot of money off of it. Long story short, I gave my son a random book. I picked it out. It was a Hulk. That one book was worth $800. That one comic book. So I learned a lesson that day to look up the book before I gave it to my child. But, lesson learned. Lesson learned.
My second novel. Oh, go ahead, dog.
No, I was just going to say, because Nicky posted in chat about the Mandalorian. He doesn't want to. They don't want to hear my view on the Mandalorian. I gave up after about 4 shows. It's the same every show. He lands on the planet. He palms Baby Yoda off on the nearest nobody. Goes and does his own thing. The poor Yoda doesn't get fed, so he starts eating anything. And then he goes to the next planet.
Than the last 2 movies.
It is the same show. It's like the same as the A-Team was, where they get locked in a barn. They get locked in a barn every show with a bale of hay, a pitchfork, and a bag of nails, and a welding torch, and they come out with a full-blown battle tank.
I loved the A-Team. I loved the
Okay,
A-Team.
but the thing about the A-Team, why was it that every barn that got locked in just happened to have a welding torch? How
Okay,
many
but
welding
You'd be
torches in the barn?
surprised. You'd be surprised how many farmers down here in Missouri welding.
same here in California. You'd
Oh
be
yeah, no,
surprised.
they have a welding torch, but they don't keep it in the barn because everything in there is flammable.
Yeah,
okay,
they
but
get the
that's not good
panels to
TV.
make a fully armored battle tank with machine guns and everything on it.
Okay, what about my all-time hero then, MacGyver?
Rinse and repeat.
Anytime that MacGyver would get captured anywhere, it was with endless supplies.
Columbo was the same. They showed you the killer at the beginning of the show,
You
and
know,
then it was just him just bothering him all the time.
we could be here till like tomorrow, the next day. It's already tomorrow. Talking about how many of these shows are just rinse and repeat.
Perry Mason.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
a lot of shows, even now, that are rinse
Every
and repeat.
CSI.
Yeah.
Oh, don't even
Actually,
get me
yeah,
started on that.
most of the TV shows that don't have a large story arc, if they're episodic, they tend to fall into a very formulaic pattern after a half dozen episodes.
You can see how this series is completely unrelated to the next series. Maybe it was done 20 years later, and they have all the same plots.
My
Changes.
Well, the Mandalorian is basically a bad teenage mum.
when a long time ago, I asked my dad because he would obsessively watch House or NCIS, and I asked my dad one day. I said, "You're in the Navy. Is any of this real?" And he kind of looked at me and laughed. He said, "Hell no. When NCIS showed up, the whole ship put their hands on the wall. They literally, when they did an investigation, they did a real investigation. If something happened, they would shut down the whole ship."
And another caveat to that, the NCIS equipment is not that cool.
Yeah.
And
NCIS
is it lupus?
They're real. They are real investigators. Sorry.
NCIS plot or nothing matters. You've got Mark Harmon.
I knew you were gonna say.
What else matters?
One day I looked at my dad. I said, "I know this isn't real. And you still have seen every episode 1,000 times."
I love NCIS. Regular, original, Gibbs NCIS.
Yeah.
I love the character. They killed her off. What was her name? The Israeli.
Yeah, I know which.
Oh, I forgot about her.
Ziva.
Yeah, Ziva.
I always wanted to make a bumper sticker that just said, "Don't fuck with Ziva."
Well, that's
anything.
My cousin named her cat Ziva after the character from NCIS.
The real challenge for any modern author, is that every story has been used 100 times over at least. So how do you bring something new to it? Because basically every TV show and every movie has been broken down on the internet now and pointed out all the tropes repeating.
Oh, especially sitcom.
Well, the only American show I was disappointed was cancelled. It was a comedy show called My Name Is Earl.
Yes, I love that show.
I love it.
It just got cancelled after 4 or 5 seasons. That could have gone on for a long time.
No.
My name is what?
No, little known show with early 2000s ish, sometime around the same time Firefly got X'd, called Driven. Nathan Fillion has a bad habit of every time he gets on a Fox show, they cancel their show. They canceled Firefly after 1 season, and then Driven, which was a cool fucking TV show with the first 3 episodes that they aired, was great, and then they said, fuck it.
They did make that film that wrapped up Firefly, though, didn't they?
Yeah, but there was so much more that could have been done with Firefly. I still want to know what was in Shepherd Books' past.
I knew you were going to say that. You know what? I'm a hardcore Stargate fan. We may never know what happens with Eli walking around on Destiny.
I never watched it. I watched the first season of Destiny.
It's a great
refuse
show.
to watch anymore.
Going back, Dog.
Yeah.
By the same people who made My Name Is Earl. Did you ever watch Raising Hope?
No, we didn't get that here.
Oh,
That show.
what was cool was a lot of times in the background, while they've got something going on, if you watch the TV in the background, it was having scenes of My Name Is Earl, but it wasn't as a TV show. It was airing them as like episodes of the news. So, it was just tying it together that this was like happening like 2 towns over.
So
I loved that show. I absolutely love that show.
I think America has got an amazing sense of humor in some of them shows. You got the Big Bang Theory. Well, My Name Is Earl. What was that one I liked? With
Raising
Tim Allen.
Hope.
Home Improvement. That was a brilliant show.
Tim Allen's a snitch.
Well, yeah, but that Home Improvement show was amazing. That was it just reminds you of proper family life. A happy family, arguing and all that crap. And
It was stupid. Tim Allen's a jackass.
yeah, well,
Well,
Tim Allen grew up to be a trumper and a turf.
well, yeah, he
in
did.
Home Improvement, his character was basically a dick too. A lot of
Yeah.
the plots revolved around just him being rather oblivious to the people around him and what they needed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Tool time.
Yeah,
And he was a tool.
Shows like that with characters like that. It's like what's that one that Roseanne was on? They've brought back now.
Oh, the Connors?
Yeah. I couldn't watch it when Roseanne was on it. I can't watch it now. It's just too annoying. Every character in it is just fucking stupid and annoying.
Okay, and the problem I have with, and this goes back virtually every American sitcom back to the 60s, is most of the plot lines are because somebody is lying or hiding something from who are supposed to be their partners or their friends.
Or yes.
So it's like, how do people remain friends with this person over the course of 5 years when every week they're trying to cover up a lie?
And
I
that's
wouldn't associate with these people after the 3rd time it happened.
Well, another show that's based on them genres, WandaVision. Have you seen that?
I've seen some of it.
Oh,
I
that's
haven't watched that yet.
that's an amazing show. That is really, really good.
Do you know in life, like funny stuff like that happens every once in a while? It's not every week.
Well, see,
You know?
that's what I mean. I could understand once in a while something happens, somebody's embarrassed, they try to cover it up. Sometimes people lie to each other. That's human nature. I could understand this happening maybe once a year. If it happens much more than that, I'm just not going to hang around with this person anymore.
Agreed.
That's the other thing.
Sometimes the stars themselves cock it up, don't they? Bill Cosby, case in point.
Okay,
What's that,
Jenny?
Jenny?
What were you saying, Jay?
Yeah, shut up, dog. It's my turn. Walking over. That's one of the things I really hate about American television and sitcoms and stuff. Every fucking show has a Christmas show, a Thanksgiving show, and it's always the same predictable plot line of somebody can't make it home for the holidays, and then suddenly they appear at the end, and it's so sappy and just.
There's an old school saying, you don't want to be on the Enterprise, you don't want to live in Metropolis, you don't want to live in Star City, wherever the comic book are.
One of the things that bothers me, though, with this being basically the premise of most sitcoms, is it normalizes this behavior that people are watching these and people are getting these ideas that this is how you're supposed to treat your friends.
Yes, and it leads to unreal expectations, which goes back to unobtainable perfection.
Well,
because
and it leads to a lot of toxic relationships. It leads to people thinking it's normal to stay with somebody who lies to you all the time.
Or think that life's exciting. Life is boring and long,
Video games are exciting. That's why I play video games. Fuck life.
Well, look, we know now space is, from as of 2025, space is going to be fucked because if human beings put a hotel in space, space is just going to be polluted and ruined
It's
forever.
already
It's already
polluted.
that
Really.
Okay.
way.
Have you not
Okay, but
seen
I
low
need to
Earth
go.
orbit?
Bye, Kitty.
You can't
Bye,
pollute
Kitty.
space. You
Have a
can't
good night,
pollute
guys.
space because
See you
everything
later, Kitty.
on the planet is already in space. It's
Yeah.
already there.
If you were
Okay,
to,
with this whole
I
thing
gotta
of a
find the meme.
hotel in
I gotta find
space,
the meme.
Hmm?
You gotta
with this
find
whole
the
thing
meme.
of a hotel in space, though, what do you
They
think
have
is
a
going to
swimming pool.
happen? What do you think is going to happen the first time one of the guests at the hotel does something stupid and gets everyone on the station killed? Because you know it's going to happen.
absolutely.
Because they're going to be flying up anyone who can pay for the ticket.
Yep.
So you're going to have entitled idiots going up there.
Trump's in space.
Yeah.
Or
But,
at
you know,
worst,
so they're going to be killing, billionaires who
Or-
are then going to have a family who can afford to spend $1 billion on a lawyer for a lawsuit. How long is this going to last? I mean, if you kill poor people who can't afford attorneys, you can get away with it. If you kill rich people, you get your ass suit off and your company closed down.
even even right now, I thought of like 10 different lawsuits you could do if that, or Doctor Who style, someone's gonna think they're going to the bathroom and they're really going to an escape pod. It's just a recipe for disaster.
I'm sorry. Anybody who's got the wherewithal and intelligence and understanding of space, who can design something that would serve as a hotel, is going to understand labeling things and safety, so that some unauthorized person can't do this or that. I'm sorry.
No, I agreed with you, and then I got on the internet. I agreed with you. I thought humanity had a glimmer of hope, and then I got on the internet.
That's the problem. You're going to have, normal, intelligent people designing this, and they're going to try to idiot-proof a space station, and they're going to underestimate the idiots.
Well, it's fallible. And it's going to be full of retina scans and fingerprint readers and all sorts.
The perfect meme for what we were talking about is posted in the private chat.
I'm down for it too, But like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, he doesn't want to be the first one up there. He wants to be like the 900th. So I want to be like, the 1000th guest.
Yeah, you send the monkeys up first, mate. Let them see how they fare.
We're modern. We'll send robots first.
Yeah, I'm afraid the image came up too small. I can't really read it.
You should be able to double click on it and make it bigger.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let me see if I can bring this up for everybody to see.
Jenny gone.
Now I just have Sammy Hagar stuck in my head. There's certain songs I can't listen to because I'll get a ticket. Slayer, if I'm driving, I cannot listen to Slayer anymore. Certain Sabathon songs.
Okay. Hey, Earth, what's up? Nothing good, Moon. Nothing good. What's wrong? I just came from the doctor. Turns out I got humans. Oh, man, are you okay? No, the doctor told me it's terminal. Fuck, I'm sorry to hear that, Earth. Hey, what's that? Don't know, man. Oh, God, what's that thing doing? Jesus fucking Christ, it's contagious. Mother. Run, Mars, run.
Okay, that was actually hilarious.
That meme is so goddamn old.
that was hilarious.
Oh.
Well, you got to admit, we are good at warming up planets, so we'd be ideal on Mars. But then we'd overheat it again.
I always call us trash monkeys because that's what we do. We produce trash.
Again, I state again, have you seen low Earth orbit?
No, that's what I was going to go off about. I completely forgot. You know, that's another thing they're going to see. It's not going to be so spectacular when they see everything we've ever thrown into orbit. And they see that we are just, our planet is covered in a haze of satellites, trash.
Have you ever seen the predictions of what Earth's going to look like in 100 years?
No. You know, I heard this creepy thing. Neil deGrasse Tyson said we get hit with like a billion, like some insane amount of dust every day from the asteroids. Every day. Our planet is, we're doomed.
We've been getting hit by the dust for billions and billions of
No,
years.
but my whole point is
that is part of what makes our
no shit. My whole point is, my entire point, explainer, is that with combination of what we're doing with the dust, the crap we already have in air, we are a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
It's not just one thing, it's the combination of it all.
It's because it can't escape through the dome.
Do you think is in outer space?
What?
What kind of trash do you think is in outer space, orbiting our planet?
Oh, it's all satellite junk, isn't it?
It's a word game at this point because it's everything we've ever thrown up there. It's
Not
everything.
Not
It's everything. Well, it's everything that's ever stuck up there.
Everything we've thrown up there eventually comes down on its own.
Outside of the
satellite. It is
geostationary
not going to
orbit
continue.
junkyard.
It's not going to continue orbiting. Our orbits are not a circular path; they're a slow fall to the Earth.
Okay, our planet is covered in trash. Okay,
Well, and
regardless of what you call it, label it, put a bow on it. It's our planet. We have done that.
yeah, but the
Again,
small stuff we don't
everything-
have to worry about.
Everything that the astronauts have left in outer space has been cataloged. And they know exactly what it is, and it's stuff like, "Oops, a glove."
Okay.
Oops, a nut or a
Oops,
bolt.
oops, we put asbestos in wallpaper. Oops, we shouldn't put asbestos in brakes. Oops, human beings, we have this really cocky thing and we think we know what we're doing. And then 100 years from now, they're going to be like, oops, we shouldn't have done any of that.
No, the stuff that's in space should have a program of trying to collect it up. But don't imagine that you're going to go to space and see this cloud of trash.
Oh, no.
First of all, everything that's out there is too small to see from any kind of distance, and there is a whole lot of space out there.
Yeah,
you're just not going to. It's like this is like the flat earthers saying, "Well, why can't I see the satellites circulating the planet if I'm in outer space on the space station?"
Yeah,
Because they're
they
too
are
fucking
tracking.
small.
They are
Don't forget,
tracking.
Jenny,
they
when
have
Elon
killed-
Musk is finished with his
I was
2,000
saying it for-
SkyTrain satellites,
I
you're going
was
to be
saying
seeing
it.
them all night.
I was saying it for fluff, Jenny. I will bring my textbook next time. I didn't know this was a test.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
They are tracking, and they have.
Thank you for explaining it for me, though.
They have calculated the paths of thousands of pieces of space debris. But this is also like saying, if you take 10,000 screws and scatter them evenly across the U.S., how far do you have to walk to find one?
Agree.
But it is. I will completely agree that it is a problem because you can't hit stuff at the highest speed and it can cause some damage. But it's and there is lots. I mean, I think they've cataloged. They say thousands and thousands of things. And then they make the claim that there's tens of thousands of things orbiting the Earth, and they are, but they're all at different altitudes.
Well, it is a risk, and the reason they're tracking all these things is because there is concern, that a single nut hitting a satellite could knock a satellite out of orbit.
Yeah, it's not so much knocking it out of orbit as making the satellite basically shattered into a million pieces. But anyway, all right, so I got some numbers here for nerds. While there are about 2,000 active satellites orbiting Earth at the moment, there are also 3,000 dead ones littering space. What's more is there's about 3,400 or 34,000 pieces of space junk bigger than 10 centimeters in size and millions of smaller pieces that could
Bigger than how
nonetheless-
big?
10 centimeters.
Okay.
Centimeters in size and millions of smaller pieces that could nonetheless prove disastrous if they hit someone else or something else. There is actual space debris up there. Yes, you're right. It's so fucking far spread out. But some projections, this is back years ago, early 2000s maybe. We're saying something like, at current level and the way we were to be doing things, eventually Earth technically would kind of have a man-made ring system. It wouldn't be glorious or great, but it would, and it also wouldn't sustain very long either because we're too close to the goddamn sun, and again, orbits are a thing. Orbit decay is a thing.
Well, I'm sorry. I think headlines like that have always been and still are clickbait.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that they're exaggerating the problem, and like you say, none of the stuff was put up in a stable orbit, so it's only a matter of time before it hits the atmosphere and burns up.
Yeah,
and they know about how much there's up there because they have cataloged everything.
NORAD's also tracking it too.
Yeah, they know where all of it is. That's why they can say, have been able to say to the space station or something, you have to change your orbit. Something's coming.
Yep.
And it does.
Yeah, and they've had to do that. I expect it's probably a regular exercise that they have to do to have a satellite give a little bit of a boost, just so it doesn't collide with something.
And that's why RCS is a thing. Well, one of the reasons RCS is a thing.
RCS?
Reaction control system. The little thrusters that adjust orientation and height, altitude, stuff like that. Keeps the station in a stable orbit without having to constantly send a rocket ship up there to adjust the orbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because they can calculate and predict the orbits of all the debris, it's just something that if they predict there's going to be a collision and predict it far enough ahead, giving a little thrust that just moves a satellite a few millimeters is going to be enough to avoid the collision.
Yep, that's why I said RCS is fine for that, because that's all RCS has the power for.
Yeah.
It's not like, you're strapping a big gigantic rocket booster. You just need a little bit of movement, a couple millimeters and a little bit of change in velocity to avoid this stuff.
And those are mostly just compressed air, right?
It's compressed gas. I'm not sure if it's
Okay,
air,
yeah.
but it is compressed gas. It's usually, I think, nitrogen or something like that. It's something.
Nitrogen makes sense.
I think it's nitrogen just because nitrogen is lighter, so it reduces the weight on launch.
Well, they would be more concerned about it being inert.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
I fuck with RCS on Kerbal Space Program, so I have some understanding of it. Not to the extent of what the astronauts and the rocket engineers do, but yeah, RCS is not very powerful at all.
Well,
so
the other thing is
X-Wing
that
will never be a thing.
Yeah. The other thing is that in general, satellites communication satellites aren't as big as most people think.
No, they're not. And
a lot of these things aren't much bigger than a basketball.
a lot of stuff's also a lot of our main stuff is in geosynchronous orbit. So it's geosynchronous orbit's actually safe orbit. Stuff where the ISS is and where most of our bullshit stuff goes. That's where a lot of the trash is.
Yeah, the satellites for the GPS and the cell phones are a much lower orbit than those.
Yeah, and
than where the debris from the rocket launches for the moon and that are.
Geosynchronous is around 23,000 miles.
Yeah. That's where like Himawari 8's at and stuff like that. Hubble, I think's in the 200 something miles up. So
Yeah. 250. Oh, actually, yeah, only about 2, I guess. They've talked about it.
Yeah, it's. I think the ISS is a little bit shallower or a little bit more than that. I don't remember. It's been a long minute since I've actually studied this. I'm just kind of remembering.
I wish
some
they
of the
would
stuff
send a
on my head.
mission up to save Hubble.
Again.
Yeah, again. You know, boost its orbit, send it around for another 30 years. It's a great instrument. It'd be a shame to waste it.
Now we had to do the same thing with Skylab. We had to let it die eventually.
Yep.
But Skylab was just an empty old fuel tank, you know, with just the bare bones crap.
Well, same with Russian Mirror too.
Yeah.
Will they not replace Hubble then? With
They already have a few telescopes. There's
the big
newer?
replacement is the James Webb telescope.
Yeah.
And that's going to be unfucking believable. It's going to have like 10 or 15 times the resolution of Hubble. And it works in the infrared spectrum instead of visible light like Hubble does.
Well, and there's also the question what other countries are putting up. That I mentioned this in another stream earlier this week, but China has a Martian rover now that activated a few days ago.
Yep. ESA and JAXA have shit up there. The Israelis attempted to do a moon landing.
Yep. Yeah, they got a little off and it crashed too hard.
Did they ever determine what went wrong?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
It was a couple years ago now.
No.
Well, are we looking at another space race for Mars?
If it is, it's going to be between Elon Musk and NASA.
Well, I don't know if it's really a race. It's it's ongoing. The Russians have put landers on Mars.
Well, it's a 3-month trip, isn't it?
That's when. All right, so it's 3 months there when Earth and Mars are at their closest.
Yeah.
It's literally like almost a 2-year round trip.
It'd be good though. Another space race. I'd like to see one.
Like I said, I really don't think it'll be a space race. You got SpaceX and NASA that are already got everything locked down for it. SpaceX is just getting their vehicle together, and NASA kind of already has one. They just haven't fully tested it yet.
You'd have thought once you'd reached somewhere like Mars, and the humanity would put aside its petty differences and crack on together, wouldn't they?
Well, I don't think that we're going to see a race. I think it is more likely, that even for like a manned mission to Mars, I think it's more likely to be something that would be a cooperation between 3 or 4
joint
nations.
venture.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I'm going to love you lot and leave you. And thank you, Purple and Jenny and Nikki and the chat. And
you got anything you want to plug before you go?
Nope, as usual. Still things in the pipeline, but they'll come out eventually.
Okay, well, we're going on 3 hours here, so I think this is a good point to shut it down.
All right.
Well, anyway, I love you guys, and I'll catch you all later.
I didn't mean to piss you off.
See you around.
You wouldn't piss me off, Jenny.
Good argument.
You wouldn't piss me off, Jenny. You never piss me off. I love you.
Will.
No, yeah.
I'm sure
fine, Jenny.
it's through a want of trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's an American. I care about him.
Still bashing the Brits, eh?
I'm sure it's not going to last. That he'll sleep it off. He'll be fine in the
Well,
morning.
I like to remind you speak English from England, so
No,
up yours.
speak American.
Suck it. Huh?
I speak
Go ahead.
American.
Come
No,
on.
American, yeah.
American is only spoken in the southwest quarter of this
Yeah,
country.
American, and they're trying to change all these spellings and pronunciations.
The British still haven't realized they've bastardized the language worse than the Americans have.
Yeah.
Certainly have, yeah.
Well, and actually for at least 100 years, the British didn't want to speak their own language, at least not the rich people. That, the courtly language was French because they wanted to differentiate themselves from the peasants.
Maybe. Anyway, catch you guys later.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And Jenny dropped out. So, okay, Nikki, you have anything you want? Last words?
I already plugged it over there, and it's pretty much almost the same circles. It's nothing major.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, and same with me. I'm just gonna have my same usual next week of Wednesday at noon. Although Thursday at midnight this time, Nikki's going to be joining me, and I'm, finding a few other people that we're going to have a more serious discussion, and having some people share some stories of abuse. So just want the audience to be prepared that could be rather emotionally charged and could be triggering to a lot of people. So with that, I would like to thank my patrons who supporting my channel. Vonrick, Junie, who also made my new avatar, Ox, Robert X, Mikey Famine, The Lavender Lady, and Greg Hartwick. I really appreciate the support. I am really still astounded that people actually, think this is even worth sending me $1 or $2 a month for, but I really appreciate it. And with that, we will bid you all good night.